Coming up now is another sparkling Two Mics podcast.
This is Talk Sport Extra Time with the Two Mics. Thanks very much to Andy Goldstein and Jason Cundy for the sports bar, of course. And a very, very good morning to Mr. Showbiz himself, Mr. Mike Porky, Peaky Blinders Parry.
Yeah,
very good morning to you. Why are you wearing that ridiculous hat?
Well, it's the hat, and it suits me. And by the way, do you know who made this hat?
No.
Stetson.
Stetson, really?
Stetson. Now, this is a Peaky Blinders hat,
everybody assumes that Stetson is a cowboy hat.
Well, I'm going to tell you the story. Right?
I feared you might do.
This hat was... By the way, what are we talking about hats for when we should be talking about Everton's result in Europe?
Well, we'll talk about Everton, because you don't care about the Europa League.
Of course I care about the Europa League. When
now
Everton are in it and they're winning, Everton have now proven
to be... care about the Europa League.
Now proven to be the most successful English team in Europe this season so far.
Well,
How about
this week, certainly. I mean, I'm very pleased to say, as I said at the top of the show, that finally our blushes have been spared, because, the 4 Champions League games were pretty awful.
Absolutely.
They're pretty miserable. But, they're only playing Lille. It's not as if it's anything to shout about.
I don't care what you say. Lille are a first-class team.
No, they're down the bottom of League 1,
No, they're in a very false position in France. A lot of people thought they'd be much stronger tonight at Goodison Park. There were a lot of nervous glances on the faces of the Everton faithful as I was watching it. I did actually watch it at the same time as watching the Peaky Blinders. I had to go as a job to the Peaky Blinders.
Well, you've got to multitask, haven't you? We didn't have to go to the Peaky Blinders, did you?
Well, I felt...
You basically went there because you wanted to hobnob with the stars, which is your favourite thing to do.
No, not at all.
Yes, it is.
No, if it means I can improve my knowledge and develop a quality product for the show tonight, then it's worth going to. And if I can watch Everton at the same time, because remember, I was in a cinema broadcasting setup where they can show 3 or 4 films at the same time,
cinema broadcasting setup?
Cinema broadcasting
Is that the official name for it?
Well, it's something like that, you know what I mean?
A screening room, you mean?
Screening room, that's the one I was looking for. That's what I was looking for. And so I had one eye on Everton.
In Soho, mind you.
In Soho, yeah. By the way, how
you
lively
didn't go
is Soho?
You didn't go into that place you saw the England game in?
No, I didn't. No.
A topless bar?
No.
Because they would have been showing the Everton game.
I don't go to topless bars, mate. And what I'm going to say is I had one eye on the Everton game, one eye on the Peaky Blinders, and I was really, really thrilled with Everton's result. The goals are all of very, very high quality, particularly Aussies, and it's marvellous. And Everton now very close to getting through to the knockout stages. So, we're all very, very pleased, obviously. Now, while that was going on, I had an eye on the Peaky Blinders.
Yes.
It is a stunning programme.
This has become your favourite TV show of all time.
Without a shadow of a doubt. Now, one of the reasons I was there is because it was a personal invitation from Stephen Knight. Now, do you know who Stephen Knight is?
I don't know who Stephen Knight is.
Stephen Knight is the creator and the writer of Peaky Blinders.
Okay.
He is a Birmingham boy. He's a huge Birmingham City fan, follows them avidly. And I made somewhat of a fool of myself because I said to Stephen...
Comes as no surprise
This is the man who created the Peaky Blinders, which is probably Britain's most popular drama at the moment.
He's got a whole list of, credits as long as you're on.
Absolutely.
Which you, of course, would have looked up before you went to see him.
Yes, absolutely.
Just in case you embarrassed yourself like you did with Will Ferrell that time.
No, not at all. But anyway, I said to him, look, thank you ever so much indeed for inviting me along. It's very, very kind of you. I said, why me in particular? And he said, well, years ago, he said, I've been a TalkSport fan all my life. Years ago, I remember you and Alan Brazil on The Breakfast Show. He says, my favourite show, and never forgotten the laughter and the joy you brought me in life. So when I spoke to Mr. Brazil and said, come along, I said, could you bring old Porky with you? And Al said, yes, that's right there. But get this. I said, well, look, in return for that, Al and I must take you out. We're in the middle of Soho now. We must take you out to a good Italian in Soho. We know one. It's called 49ers or something like that. And could you join us next week? He said, no, I'm busy. I said, what? I said, busy?
Of course he said he was busy.
Busy? I said, and what is busier? What is busier?
So after having met you for about 10 minutes, he decided that was long enough. He didn't really want to spend any more time with you.
No, I'm about to tell you the answer.
That's clearly what he meant. He was trying to be polite to you, obviously.
If you'd listen, I'll tell you the answer.
Oh, OK.
I said, busy. I said, too busy to, to come out with 2 of Britain's favourite radio personalities, people who...
Well, who else was going?
Mr. Brazil and I.
Oh, right, so you were in Brazil?
Yeah.
I thought you meant Brazil had somebody else with him.
And why would you think that?
Never mind.
I think that.
Just carry on.
Haven't you been following the story?
Yes, I've been following the story.
He thought Brazil and I were great on breakfast, right? So, anyway, he says, well, it is quite important, really. I said, oh, what's so important then? He said, I'm going to America to work on a movie project with Steven Spielberg.
Blimey.
I said, right, OK, well, I'll concede on that one.
That's quite a good excuse.
It's quite a good excuse.
That is quite a good excuse.
So I was quite busy, you see, you fool. Anyway, the hat, so he gave me the hat. He gave me a Peaky Blinders hat.
So with the whole cast there or something as well?
Some of the cast were there.
Right.
Cillian Murphy wasn't there. He's the leading star.
He's in Tommy Shelby. He's the guy you're always going on about.
That's right. He's in Paris with his wife doing another promotion for it because it's been translated into French.
Oh, is it?
Which is very good, isn't it? Yeah.
How'd you do a Birmingham accent in French?
I don't know, but
might have to have a go at that.
Interesting one. But this lad, Stephen Knight, is a a Brummie anyway. He's got a broad Midlands accent. But so he gives me the hat, and I said, "This is not a proper Peaky Blinders hat." He said, "Why?" I said, "It's got no razor blades in the peak." That's what
he couldn't be giving you that, could he?
That's why they call the Peaky Blinders. I wanted to go out and cut somebody to
Well, no, you wouldn't want to do that.
Of course,
but what you could do though is you could use it at home to cut down the greenery on your vast,
I could do.
Roof terrace.
Of course, I didn't want to go and injure anybody and all that, but I was getting into the.
I think you're getting into this a bit too much.
No,
I came in tonight, and you were sort of sitting there looking very brooding
Yes.
in the corner with this ridiculous cap on.
No, it's great.
And holding a cigarette in your hand. I put the picture out on Twitter earlier. You can find it on at the Two Mics. I'm slightly worried that you're kind of taking on this persona of a gangster.
You can't tell people I wasn't smoking that cigarette, obviously.
No, you weren't smoking
No.
it. Which is even more odd, really, the fact that you were just holding it.
But it's great. But look, I haven't finished my story yet, so if you just shut up for a minute, the audience...
we've only got 5 hours to do the show. How long is this story? We haven't got to anything that we're supposed to be talking about yet.
The audience want to hear this, right? So anyway, it gives me the hat, and I look at the hat, and I thought, this is a treasured memento. It's come from the creator of the Peaky Blinders, which will go down as one of Britain's greatest ever drama programmes. So I look inside, and it says Stetson. I said, what's Stetson? He said, no, the same people who made the...
Because it was called the Stetson hat, wasn't it?
Yeah, same people who made the cowboy hats.
Yeah.
And I said, how come? He said, you've got to remember, when the Wild West started, we were still the world's biggest power, and the Stetson was made by a Hartlepool tailor who shipped out hundreds of thousands of them to America.
Oh, right.
He
said
Stetson's
actually an English company.
Stetson's an English... Well, it's not now. It was bought by somebody in Slovakia or somewhere like that. So it's got, Slovakian lettering inside. It's got like a lot of British companies. It's been sort of
look at that.
But it's very interesting. And now, a piece of exclusive information, right? You heard it here, folks, OK? We saw the screening of the last episode, which you folks will have seen at home tonight, in which, in the end, Tommy Shelby is not executed and put in his grave. 2 other men are executed and put in the grave instead.
Right.
So Tommy escapes, but guess what? As the lights came up and everybody had been told, well, it's the end of the second series and that's it, old Steve Knight announces, I've got news for you. There will be a 3rd series of Peaky Blinders. That was announced exclusively tonight, kids, at my showing. So
Did he
what
give
a
you
night.
Permission to tell everybody that?
He's given me permission to tell
sure?
everybody. So what a night.
You're not breaking some embargo or anything.
Everton win 3-0, which is a wonderful, wonderful start to the night. Peaky Blinders new series. That's a wonderful development as well.
I've already
could be better?
Hang on, I've already got a tweet here from Pepe. He said, can you please tell Mike Parry we don't want any Peaky Blinders spoilers?
Why?
Some people might not have seen the episode that you saw last night.
Of course they've seen it. It was on live.
Was it?
Mind you, I wouldn't have seen it if I hadn't
I
gone to
know,
the
but some
screening.
people might be recording it, from last night and they want to watch it over the weekend.
Some people might have watched London's Burning, or whatever it's called, Fire or something.
Fire.
The Great Fire.
Is that still on?
It's still on.
I thought it's taking longer than the Fire did.
It's got this one and then it's got next week's. And I
tell you, I watched the first one, that was it. Well, don't worry, because we're doing Porky Vision later.
Well, I'll tell you about it later. But anyway, look, the most important issue, of course, was Everton winning. That's fantastic. The best performing English club in Europe this season. The goals were marvellous. A great feeling that we're going places, and it was a bit of a hiccup. What are you offering?
Because Pepe just sent another tweet in saying, WTF, which I can't obviously say on the radio, he's just given away the end of the show.
Yeah?
You've just given away the end of the show.
Well, everybody's seen the end of the show.
Well, I haven't.
He went out live
tonight. He hasn't seen it.
Well, he went out live tonight.
He was out working. He was recording it, obviously. He was going to watch it later. He was giving away the end of the show.
I haven't. They don't know how he... They don't know how he...
You've just given it away, you complete plonker.
They don't know...
Don't say again what they did.
I'm not going to say what they did.
Would you like to give away the end of anything else while you're here?
No, they don't realise the events that led up to the final scene, and...
You just gave it away.
I didn't give it away.
You said somebody wasn't buried, somebody else
well,
was responsible.
Well, other things happened during the show.
Complete and utter, dog's breakfast.
Which were more dramatic, believe me.
So all these people who are looking forward to watching the final episode of the... How about Downton Abbey's final episode coming up on Sunday? Would you like to give the end of that away?
Well, look, when
you go and see these screenings, you're supposed to be sworn to secrecy.
But it was the same time as it going out on national television.
Doesn't matter.
I'm sorry. If I'm one of the chosen few who gets invited to a screening of one of the most dramatic shows in the history of British television, what do you expect me to do? Come back in, not tell you what was in it?
Well, you could say there's a fascinating twist at the end or something like that.
Well, there was a fascinating twist at the end.
Yeah, but now everybody knows what it is.
Well, they would if they were listening, but if they weren't listening, I'm not going to tell you.
Well,
okay?
they were listening. Pepe, I must apologise on behalf of
Wash it from your mind.
Mr. Porky
Wash
Parry.
it from your mind.
The good news is he'll be telling us more about what he's been seeing on TV this week on Parry Vision coming up a little bit later on in the show.
It's called Porky Vision.
It's called either or, actually.
Porky Vision.
Do you prefer Porky Vision?
Yeah, well, of course I do, because it's more distinctive, isn't it?
All right, we'll call it that that then, because during that particular episode of the show, he normally gets the plots wrong and actually tells you about things that everybody already knows about.
I don't think so.
But we've got lots more to talk about. We've got a lot of football to talk about. Brendan Rodgers is in the hot seat. Yaya Toure looks as though he's going to be on his way out from Manchester City, very possibly. We're talking to Casey Keller. You remember him? Great goalkeeper. Played for Spurs, of course.
Yes.
We've got some Everton fans coming on a little bit later on in the show.
Excellent.
We've got loads going on. We've got an astrologer coming on as well. And we're going to talk about tea.
We certainly are.
We've got an awful lot going. Just win it. Look at the time.
Yeah, don't worry about that. How can the fortunes of a manager go from a peak that they were in the penultimate game of last season for Liverpool and where they are now?
He's played his hand, and it may not be the right hand to have played. This is TalkSport Extra Time. We are the two mics. Loads more coming up. Extra Time with the two mics. He's Mike Parry, I'm Mike Graham. There will be a podcast coming up, of course. If you go on the Twitter, you'll find us at the two mics, at Mike Parry 8 and at IROMGs. An awful lot of people very upset with you, by the way. There's huge numbers of Twitter
a lot of people
coming in
will be
because they haven't seen the last episode. You've given away the bloody ending.
A lot of people will be very happy with us for having paid tribute to Everton's magnificent performance in European football tonight.
Would you like to give away what happened at the end of Zcast?
With the Zcast, I can't remember. I saw the very first episode of Zcast.
Yeah, how did it end, though?
I saw the very first episode.
I remember watching it as a kid.
And for some unknown reason, it was centred around a car park somewhere, an Old Ford Popular Park there, Stratford Johns, and the other guy who was the sergeant.
I just remember Fancy Smith as the name. That was his name, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, Fancy Smith was Brian Blessed, wasn't he? Obviously,
I just remember the name. And it sticks in my mind.
Brian Blessed, I mean, something's happened to him in the intervening 60 years or something, because he claims these days, I saw an interview, that he spends most of the day on the phone to the Dalai Lama for some unknown reason. Yeah.
He seems to spend most of his time just making adverts now. I mean, he's on more adverts than almost any other voice. But hang on a minute, he really upset people,
voiceover. Right? I haven't upset anybody.
Taxi Man says Porky gave away the ending. What a plank.
No, I didn't.
He says, it's Nick from Australia says, thanks, Porky, you idiot. I can't say what he's actually called you. Yes. We are 2 episodes behind in Australia.
Well, you shouldn't live in Australia.
Here's one from the engineer. Tell Porky to shut up about Peaky Blinders. I'm at work and I haven't watched it yet.
Yeah, well, I'm sorry, you've got to get home.
Thanks very much indeed.
Well, hang on. I wasn't at home. I managed to watch it, OK?
Well, no, you watched it in the sort of rather hallowed area of a Soho screening room.
That's right, I did, and I watched everything at the same time. That's the way to organise your life, and if you can't organise your life, don't blame me for the problems you inflict upon yourself.
Well, there's 2 more here. Derek. People are very annoyed here.
Oh, it's not Derek from Pencoeth, is it?
It's not Derek from Pencoeth, no.
Pencoeth.
It's Derek. I'll tell you where Derek's from. It's Derek, who's from Yorkshire.
Yorkshire's
God's
good
own
place.
County.
Good place, yeah.
Thanks a lot, Parry. He uses a swear word, which I can't say.
Yeah.
You've ruined the programme for me, and I'm now at work.
I haven't ruined anything.
You've given away the ending.
So many amazing things happened before the end anyway. I mean, I couldn't
why don't you tell us some more stuff?
Well, I don't want to. I don't ruin it for anybody.
You've already ruined it.
By the way, Winston Churchill is portrayed as a not very pleasant individual.
Don't say any more.
Believe me.
Do not say any more. Jay says, I'm working nights and haven't watched Peaky Blinders yet. Is it safe to turn the radio back on?
You can turn the radio back on. I'm not going to tell you anything.
If you turn the radio off...
I haven't told them anything. How do you know I wasn't making that up to wind everybody up?
Well, because I assume you wouldn't have the sense to do that.
I could have been winding everybody
now you're
up.
Backtracking.
I could have been winding... Look, the very fact that I've announced this incredible news, there's going to be a 3rd season.
We don't know whether that's supposed to be out there.
Hang on.
I don't know whether you've got permission to
Peaky Blinders, don't you think that anybody with an IQ of -10 would have worked out that Tommy Shelby must have survived the first 2 series to appear in the 3rd? Has that not occurred to you, you dopehead?
Well, that's what I mean. You've given away the end of the 2nd series by saying that he survives.
I haven't.
Well, you just said he survived.
Well, of course he survived. I told everybody it was the 3rd series, therefore he had to survive the 2nd series. That's common sense, you
I think you should stop digging in this massive hole. Anyway, by the way, why didn't you invite me to this so-called, showbiz event that you wanted to go to?
Actually, Mike, I did, but you came back with the lame and rather pathetic excuse that it's your turn to do the school run.
Well, no, it's not my turn to do the
school run. The school run happens at 4 to 4:30.
You knew I had to do that.
You knew I had to do that. 4 to 4:30. we weren't in town till 7 o'clock this evening. You could easily have made it, but used as an excuse.
That's not true.
Not to come along, because you know you haven't got the personality to impress big-time actors like I can.
All I know is the last time you and I were in the company of big-time actors, it was Will Ferrell, who, one, you'd never heard of, and two, who was starring in a film that you'd never seen.
No, that's right.
And then when you started interviewing him, you started describing the plot to him, which was completely wrong.
Yeah, that's true.
Apart from that, it went really well.
Yeah, absolutely. These things happen. Who was that guy from Canada who's a musician, has got the same name as an actor? Because I know a journalist who went along to interview him once, and he thought he was the wrong person. Yeah.
I'm not sure.
You know, The Power of Love or something, is it?
Huey Lewis?
Who?
Huey Lewis.
Huey Lewis.
Power of Love.
Yeah, Huey Lewis. And the person who went along into him thought he was interviewing... the guy, the old rock and roll star called Lewis. What was his name?
Jerry Lee Lewis.
Jerry Lee Lewis, that's right.
Really?
Yeah, it was amazing. Was
this somebody you employed?
No, it wasn't actually. It was
By the way, I've got some news
somebody
for you.
we employed, but not for very long.
I've got some news for you. You know how you were always going on about, what a great job you did at Daily Express and how wonderful you were and how everybody really appreciated what you did.
Yes.
There was some abuse going your way on Facebook earlier on today, which was very funny, which I'm going to quote to you.
What are you on about?
There were some people slagging you off on Facebook today.
Oh, about what?
Saying you were a terrible boss, saying you were a bully, saying you were a misogynist. Absolutely incredible stuff.
That's outrageous. And if you show it me, I'm going to sue those people because none of that's true. That's all utter bilge and rubbish.
There's plenty of people piling in, so I'll show it to you. I don't want to name any names, obviously, because all of these people are still out there working.
Where did
in the
this all
media
come
business.
from?
Well, it was just apropos of nothing. One of the reporters that you used to employ.
What's the name of this person?
I'm not going to tell on
I
air.
want to know.
No, I'm not going to tell. But apparently it's a girl, right? She put a picture on Facebook because she was remembering being at the Brandenburg Gate and getting a passport stamped and being 25 years ago at the fall of the Berlin Wall.
Right.
And she started just describing what it was
sounds like Kim Wilshire to me.
working at the Express. And then she talked about Jean Rook. And then we're not going to name anybody, okay?
Yeah, okay.
And then she started talking about Jean Rook working for her. Anyway, it just kind of it sort of steamrolled and snowballed into a load of other people that used to work at the Express making comments about what it used to be like working there.
Yeah.
And they were all saying what a horrible boss you were.
It's outrageous. Misogyny is something I abhor.
Misogyny?
And I was not a misogynist in any shape or form. I was not at all. I had very cordial relationships with a lot of women on the Express. The Jean Rook...
You say potato?
The Jean Rook story is interesting because Jean Rook, sadly, was in hospital fighting cancer. I think it was breast cancer. She'd already beaten it once a few years back, and then sadly it came back and it spread to her liver and lymph nodes. Well, it's all over. But the amazing thing is, we got in the car, myself and Sir Nicholas Lloyd, the editor.
Sir Nicholas.
Sir Nicholas, that's right, my friend, Sir Nicholas.
Your good friend, yeah.
And...
such a crawler.
We set off in the chauffeur-driven Jag, and Gary was the driver.
You must have loved all that.
I did love it, yeah.
You must have loved all that.
It was like being in the back of the Prime Minister,
did you
know what I mean?
pretend that it was your Jag? I bet you did. Inside your mind, you were thinking, this is really my car,
No, not at all. How could you do that?
Sir Nicholas, if I stay in the car after you get out of it, you can just drive me around London for a while. People can see me in the back of a chauffeur-driven Jag. I bet that's what you did.
Don't be ridiculous. I did always ask the chauffeur to put his peak cap on when I was in the car, but that's another thing. But no, we got a quarter of an hour down the road, and it was in the days of the very first. It was when Carphone Warehouse used to sell car phones, believe it or not, right?
Those things that came like in an attaché case.
Yeah, well, no, they were actually on a Jag. They were fitted in the console in the middle.
Yeah, but you could take them out, couldn't you?
Yeah, take them out, and they had a big curly wire,
Yeah, but they were massive, though.
They were massive. But anyway, the phone went, and I remember this very distinctive noise, a drrr, 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 drrr. And the driver picked it up because it was in the front, obviously. And he said, hang on. He handed the phone to Nick. And Nick said, oh, dear. Well, that's very sad. Okay, thank you very much. Gary, turn around. We're going for lunch. Gina just died. Yeah. Just like that. And just bang, just sparked out and all that kind of stuff. But anyway, that's not the point of the story.
Anyway, I'll show you what they were saying about you later on.
Exactly. Why didn't you tell me that outside before the show started?
Because
you reserved that. You reserved that to try and publicly undermine me.
It just occurred to me.
Publicly humiliate me.
It just occurred to me.
None of these allegations are true. I say that now. None of them are true.
You're not guilty of misogyny.
I'm definitely not guilty of misogyny.
How about your misogyny?
And bullying is something I utterly abhor,
and
I wouldn't put up with that to any extent or whatever.
It's a shocking allegation.
It is a terrible, shocking allegation.
They've obviously mistaken you for somebody else.
What they've mistaken is the smack of Fern management for weak reporters or useless, idle your lazy, bone-ragged half-bakes who pretending to be reporters are not doing the job properly.
Yeah, I quite agree with you. Now, I'll tell you the reason I couldn't make it up tonight. It was nothing to do with the school run, actually.
Yeah.
You know as well as I do that the school run is extended for me on a Thursday because my kids go and have tennis lessons, they have football. It goes on until about 7:30 at night.
Indoor tennis, is it?
Indoor tennis, yes.
Is it? Yeah.
Yeah, you've heard of indoor tennis. They're having a big indoor tennis tournament at the O2
Oh,
this
right.
weekend.
Okay, yeah, good.
Yeah,
good.
it's called the ATP Masters.
Yeah.
Andy Murray's playing.
Yeah.
Roger Federer's playing.
Actually,
you
down
wouldn't say to them, "Oh, indoor tennis, is it?"
Down in
Would you?
Stockbroker Belt, we have the biggest indoor tennis down in Sutton.
It's
in Surrey.
Roehampton, isn't it?
No, Roehampton.
The England tennis, the Lawn Tennis
Yes, but that's-
Association Tennis Centre.
That's in Middlesex. This is a kids thing. They have a huge development. In fact, we used to have a chap here who was a sort of producer.
A sort of producer.
Yeah, a sort of producer, but he fancies himself as a bit of a tech op as well. And he told me he nearly became a professional tennis player alongside Andy Murray.
Oh, yeah.
But he just wasn't good enough. But he graduated from this academy that I'm telling you about in Sutton and Surrey.
I'm
And,
told the biggest one's in Milton Keynes.
there is one in Milton Keynes, you're right. Yeah, but Milton Keynes is a long way away. I went through Milton Keynes yesterday.
It's not a long way away.
I was
Depends
on a-
where you live, doesn't it? It's not a long way away from Milton
I was
Keynes.
on a train going to Birmingham yesterday, and we passed through Milton Keynes.
Oh, yes.
And I'll tell you about the Birmingham project later. Yeah, it's very interesting.
Very good. Very exciting, the Birmingham project. We've got lots more to do, though, and I've got to tell you
Yep.
more about the school run and the stress levels that
Well, I want to talk to you. I know
you
a lot.
can't do it now.
No, but I will in a
At the
minute.
time.
I will in a minute. I know all about the school runs.
You
And,
don't know
and
anything about the school run.
I have. I've studied
You've
a
never been on
report.
the school run.
I've studied a report on it.
I was stuck in traffic at the tennis.
Well, you can't organise your life, can you?
This is TalkSport Extra Time. We are the two mics. There will be a podcast coming out a little bit later on this morning. Hopefully, there was a bit of a hiccup in the earlier part of the week. And it came out a bit late, but that was nothing to do with me, as you know, Mr. Parry.
No, I think it was.
Mike
I think it
Parry
was.
is here. He's very excited about how Everton did actually do quite well last night.
You bet.
Getting a victory after all the terrible misery of the Champions League with Arsenal, with Chelsea, with Manchester City and with Liverpool as well. We're going to talk now, though, to Casey Keller because he was watching the Spurs game last night.
Yep.
They got a victory as well.
Yep.
So they're flying the flag in Europe as well. Casey, of course, formerly goalkeeper with Spurs.
Indeed.
And we'll find out what he's making of everything now, especially some of the big games in the Premier League. Casey, very good morning to you. Welcome to the show.
Gentlemen, good morning.
Yeah, good morning. Thanks for joining us.
So once
My
again,
pleasure.
it was the Harry Kane show a bit last night, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, he's obviously been a tremendous revelation for this season for Tottenham, and once again, he just continues to do it. Does it in Europe last night, getting that goal right before halftime, and it proved to be crucial as Tottenham looked to be cruising in the first half, and then didn't necessarily come out as well as Spurs fans would have hoped in the second. But in the end, it's 3 points, and it looks to be pretty smooth sailing out of the group stage.
It looks to me, Casey, like whilst English clubs are not having a great time in the Champions League, we're doing rather well in the Europa League, and it is masking, in Spurs' case, some shortcomings at home.
I think that's the tricky part. I mean, and I think if you look at kind of how Tottenham has started the Premier League, that there was once again huge expectation, another managerial change, and Pochettino was brought in to bring Champions League football to Tottenham, and another frustrating start. But it's early, and when you look at it right now, and with 14 points and 17 points, this gets you in a Champions League spot. So you look at the difficult start, but you're within a result or two away from getting yourself up to Champions League. I think it's the way it's come about. It's that consistency issue. I think that's always been the big question mark with Tottenham over so many years. Is can you compete against the big boys, either home or away? Yeah, win games you're supposed to win. Don't slip up in the on times, because just look at the way Chelsea have started the season. They've started the way they've made changes. They brought in. They've looked to strengthen. But they find ways to get results when they're not playing well. Even yesterday, so they're losing so much of the game, but they somehow find a way to find that point. And when teams get into that kind of frame of mind, you can see when they win championships. And Spurs need to find that way to just find results when they need it. And maybe this weekend or this last weekend was that change. Losing 1-0 to Villa for so long. The benefit of the sending off, but then getting a couple late goals, getting that 3 points, and then today where it could have gone wrong away from home. but somehow they find a way to get that result.
Do you get a sense, though, Casey, that Tottenham are now kind of almost in the second tier of the Premier League? Because obviously it's very, very highly competitive at the top four level now, where you've got, Chelsea, Manchester City, you've got Arsenal always going to be up there, Manchester United and Liverpool are going to be there or thereabouts. And it's going to be very hard for Tottenham to get anywhere near the top four, it seems to me, as long as this Maurizio Pochettino project is going to take quite a long time to work, isn't it?
No, but it's been, I think if you look at it and you look at the way it was with AVB or with Tim or with Harry or whoever was in charge, you still find yourself in that number 6 to 8 in payroll. And it's an amazing little correlation between how much money you spend and where you finish in the table. And Spurs are close, but they always seem to be in that payroll of about the 6th or the 8th, somewhere in there, the highest payroll in the Premier League. And somehow they finish somewhere between 5th and 7th, kind of in that UEFA spot, but just out of the Champions League. And you have to think that, I had said things a couple of years ago that, do you hold on to a player like Gareth Bale and build your team around him? Or, do you find a player like Modric and things are really working? Do you strengthen your team to get yourself into those top 4 spots, solidify yourself in a Champions League position, and then when the crazy money comes, as you saw Manchester United do it years past, Cristiano Ronaldo, yes, we've won things, and so now we'll sell these players, bring in other guys, and then step it forward and use that money to strengthen our position in those spots. Spurs are just so quick to sell that top talent, and how difficult is it to find those guys? So when you finally get them, and you get them for a decent price, and you're developing them, can you just keep them that little bit longer? Give yourself that opportunity to jump into those top 4 positions.
Yeah, I mean, ironically, Casey, Spurs now could do with a season without European football to try and get their squad together, concentrate purely on trying to, establish a good position in the Premier League. And that's where the Europa League sometimes, skews the plan for mid-table clubs, as like you might call them.
No, Everton as well.
Well, Spurs in particular, but Everton, who are always on the verge of the top 4, because they've got to have 2 squads of players, and it's this eternal playing on Thursday night, travelling home from somewhere in Eastern Europe, and having to get going again for Sunday, which can screw the flow of your pattern in the Premier League.
Well, it's definitely not easy. You look at what even a squad like Man City has, and they slip up at home in Champions League, and then have to get prepared to play a big cup game or a big league game, because now. How many games will Chelsea lose this season?
Yeah. Not very many, I don't think.
3, so you...
I don't think they'll lose 3, to be honest. I don't...
I agree with you. And so you get into that situation and you think, you come away from a big, Europa Cup game. It takes energy. Even if the guys who aren't playing, even if you're on the squad, you're coming back from Greece getting ready to play a big game at the weekend. Yeah. How can you afford? And then you have squads of 40 guys, that's one thing, but I think if you look at at Spurs' reserves or the squad that Spurs have, that I think we're all in agreement that they're probably not quite as deep as some of the other teams.
The big story of the week, and let me just ask you quickly about this before we let you go, Casey. Brendan Rodgers on the back pages this morning over here saying his neck's on the line. He was really the guy that kind of was the focus of everything this week when he decided to field what many regarded as like the B team for Liverpool. I mean, as a player, how annoyed would you have been to be told, the biggest game of Liverpool season in the Bernabeu, where you may not play again in your career, you're not going to be playing?
It is a special place to play, regardless if you're starting for Liverpool all hour, or if you've just won champion, whatever it is. It doesn't matter. You want to play in those big games. I mean, that's why players want to go to Champions League teams, is to be a part of games like that. And if you're in a situation where you're already, early on in the season, I mean, look, we're not even, we're still a month away from Christmas, and you're starting to rest players in arguably the biggest games in the season. I think what's cool about Brendan Rodgers is he's able to come out in the press and say, yeah, maybe I did get that wrong. Maybe my neck is on the line a little bit, and maybe I need to clean things up. And you look at their season last year and how close they were to winning the league. There was that expectation that could they take it over that hurdle? Could they go one step further? and now they're drifting back in a position that they're in in all likelihood, probably going to get knocked out of the Champions League in the group stage, and you can see some huge frustrations across the board with Liverpool, and after such success last year, but at the same time, Suarez was such a major component of that success, and
exactly.
to think that you were going to replace him with Balotelli is a interesting equation. And look,
yeah, it's a bit more like hope over expectation, really, isn't it? Listen, Casey, thank you so much
Thanks,
indeed for talking to us. Casey Keller there, who was playing over in the Seattle Sounders up until last year.
Yeah.
In the MLS. Sorry.
In the what? MLS. Not the MFL.
Major League Soccer.
Major League
MFL.
Soccer.
No, MFL doesn't stand for anything. The NFL.
Yeah.
Well, did you ask Alan Brazil last night about the Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders? They were in his show.
I know, yeah. He came in this morning. He was very impressed.
Was he?
Yeah.
He didn't take any of them with him up to the do?
No, there's about 40 of them altogether.
Yeah, there's loads of them, yeah.
I mean, it's about 40 or 50
Well, do you remember they came in when we were doing the morning show?
Yeah, that's right.
I think it was San Francisco 49ers.
That's right, yeah.
They brought about 6 of them in.
Yeah, and they're all extremely good-looking girls.
They are.
Very long legs, very tall girls, very tan, very white teeth, looking in the epitome of health and all that kind of stuff. Quite knocked me for 6.
In fact, I was thinking I must find a picture of the two of us with them because it's on one of my computers.
It won't make
somewhere.
you look any better, Mike, believe me. I wouldn't put that picture into the public domain again.
No, I'd like to.
Compared to girls like that, honestly, you look like a bit of a fat slob, you know what I mean?
Listen, you're on very shaky ground
you
already.
You look like a bit of a sort of middle-aged, sort of...
Well, I am middle-aged.
No, middle-aged, sort of, the word I was looking for, sort of like a nuisance-type individual.
A nuisance?
Amongst young ladies of that calibre, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Do you want me to refer you back to that Facebook conversation?
No, because people are going to get sued for that. Some of the things I've been described as there by former disgruntled employees of the Express who are half-baked, useless reporters who I tolerated for years and years when they weren't earning their money to try and protect their livelihood so they could pay their mortgage. They should have been grateful to me for everything they've got in life, instead of which I get a load of abuse telling me that I was, a power-mad bully. And
I can't imagine
all
why
I ever
they would
asked
say
them
that.
to do was do the job they were paid for. If that meant getting up at 3 o'clock in the morning and having to climb a mountain to do a story, they should have done it. Air crashes happen on tops of mountains.
Thank you very much indeed. Mr. Mike Porky Parry, the world's most considerate boss by his own admission. This is Talk Sport. Extra time. I'm Mike Graham. He is Mike Parry. Together we are the two Mikes. There's massive sporting weekend coming up, Mike. Not just all the Premier League games. We'll talk about Brendan Rodgers and Manuel Pellegrini coming up in a little while. And we've got a couple of Everton fans coming on as well.
Excellent.
The rugby is back, of course, and it's the big autumn internationals. And England are taking on New Zealand, the All Blacks. And you know about the All Blacks, don't you? Because
of course
they're famous for the haka.
Of course they are. I know all about it.
Yeah, I know. Well, we asked you to do a haka just before the show started.
I was happy to do it.
Yeah, and I think it's absolutely brilliant.
But I was ridiculing it because, you see, I don't know. Why New Zealand, the only country in the world in rugby union circles who are allowed to perform a ceremony before the game?
They're not the only country.
Who's the other country?
All the other South Sea islands do it
as
well.
All right.
Like
So
Tonga do a version of it.
I was going to say...
Samoa, as some people call it, do it
Tojo
as well.
and all those... Tonga, I mean.
Tojo.
They all...
They were the band that did that song, Africa.
Remember that? No, I didn't know.
No, that was Toto, actually.
Oh, it's Toto.
Named after the dog in Wizard of
Oz.
Oz.
Why are you trying to confuse me and Mickey Mouse?
I'm not trying to confuse you and Mickey Mouse.
Anyway,
I'm not trying to.
On the hacker, in my view... now, I had a really long conversation with Will Carling about this once. Will and I were doing a show together somewhere. I can't remember what it was. It could have been when I was the rugby correspondent for...
that was hilarious. When you were the rugby correspondent.
I was the rugby correspondent.
Actually, that would have been better. I should have done a rugby quiz for you.
Hang on. I was the rugby correspondent for Talk Sport during
the World Cup in France, right?
That's right, in 2000, whenever it was.
Yeah.
And
nobody could believe that.
And
was that not just another episode of trying to get you out of the office?
No. I was,
you don't know anything about rugby.
No, I don't actually. And I did actually say to the person who said, you want to, I said, what I know about rugby, you'd write on the back of a postage stamp.
Yeah.
And they said,
correct.
Yeah, we know that. But anyway, I was doing like fans and the reaction and the atmospheres and I did interpret some games because Mike Boble was sitting next to me. In fact, I've told you the famous...
Well, Mike Boble's a great expert on rugby.
He's a great expert, but I told you
Is he back from holiday, by the way?
I don't know.
He's been away. I haven't seen him
He's
for a while.
been down in Cornwall, hasn't he?
I think so,
Touring
yeah.
with the family in
Yeah.
a limo.
car.
In a limo, yeah.
Yeah, somewhere like that.
But no, I'm sure I've told you this story. I've told other people. What are you laughing at?
I'm
What's
sorry,
wrong?
I'm just laughing at Mike Bovril touring around the car.
Well, why-
I just can't imagine it, really.
Why he's allowed to have a limo?
Well, no, well...
What's wrong? What's wrong with that?
Anyway, listen, I'll tell you what we're going to do.
Okay.
Let's play the hacker.
All right.
Because
Yeah.
this is Mike Parry's version of the hacker. You know how you can be terrified by something. We're going to show you the video in a little while, which is out on Twitter. But here's Mike Parry and his version of the hacker.
Kamata, kamata, kaora, kaora, kamata, kamata, kaora, kaora, tanugahi, 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 parangawawanga, taruga, karama, karama, harama, hey!
That's great.
Well,
That's very funny.
Well, I was asked to...
What's that sound at the end?
to do it. Well, it's when they all leap up and down and put their tongues out. But when I tried it with my tongue out, I couldn't make any noise. So I had to keep my tongue in.
Right.
But I was asked to do it.
You've
by
done the
one
words
of,
down,
one of the
Pat. It sounds
producers
like the
here.
words are very good.
Well, I know it. I mean, it's one of my expertise.
that
But,
bit at the end, though, is a bit weird.
well, it's not. Anyway, listen. Hang on. What's going to...
That sound... They're going to keep playing this. It sounds like something else, that, doesn't it? It sounds like a song. It sounds like a song.
Hey! What's that?
That's what the sound they make.
What's
It's
that
one of
load? What's that load of rubbish?
It's just well, it just occurred to the guys behind the glass that,
Yeah.
that hey,
I don't
hey,
think-
sounds
I
like Macho Man by the Village People.
I don't think the guys behind the glass have got enough to do tonight.
I don't
Are
think
these
they have.
people fully employed?
No, they're not.
Huh?
No, there's
Anyway.
no more research to be done. They've provided you with all the
I'm
research
sure
materials you need.
I'm sure I've told you the David Campese story because
No.
I'm sure I have.
Well, you
because,
probably have, but tell us it again.
Because when I was the rugby correspondent, you
Yeah.
know, I met up with Mike in France and he introduced me to this guy called Dave, you know, and he said, you know, Dave will be joining us for the games. And I was kind of, oh, great, you know, nice to see you, Dave. How you doing? That kind of stuff. And so we went through like all the England games, quarter-final, semi. I got to the final, didn't get to the final,
Right.
and I'm down in the media centre, standing next to Dave, and
This guy who you only knew as Dave,
yeah,
right?
it's Dave. Yeah, and a couple of hacks came up to me and said, "Oh, you know, can we talk to him?" I said, "Talk to who?" You know, looking around me like this. Oh, Dave. Yeah, I would. So anyway, I then go up to the stand, right, and I'm leafing through the final programme, and it's got a list of the 25 greatest ever rugby union players in history, and number 3 is some bloke called Dave, and I said, oh, "Hang on." He looks very familiar, and by this time he'd come down and sat next to me. I looked at his profile, and it was David
You realised
Campese.
it was the same guy?
Yeah, it was David Campese, one of the greatest rugby players ever. And I'd been working with him for a month, but I hadn't realised he was David Campese.
Well, at least it didn't get to the point where you
No.
said to him, by the way,
Yeah.
you know, why are you still here
That's
for the
right.
final? Should you not be doing something else?
Well, he was. You see, this is what knocked you off sync, because Dave's an Australian, but he had allied himself to South Africa. He was coaching in South Africa.
Right.
We met the bloke who was the captain of the South African team that won the Rugby World Cup in South Africa, whose name was big, tall, blonde fella. You know the guy I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah.
In South Africa?
Yeah.
The guy who was the captain.
The
I'm
captain
thinking of, yeah.
who took the cup off Nelson Mandela. You know.
Yeah, I know the guy. yeah.
I'll remember his name in a minute. And he was very friendly with him, so I assumed Dave was a South African. I didn't know he was Australian, you know. But anyway, it all worked out in the end. Now, on the hacker...
But it is a massive weekend, and we're going to get a hacker expert to actually judge your hacker. But if you want to
Okay.
see it, we have tweeted it out at the two mics and at IRMG.
Now-
and I think have you tweeted it out at Mike
Yes,
Perrier?
yes, I have, yes,
Good.
yes. Now, on the hacker, right, and I said to you, before I was so rudely interrupted earlier, I had a long conversation with Will Carling about it.
Yeah.
And Will was captain of England for many, many times, like 50, 60 times, something like that. And he said there is absolutely nothing you can do about it. He said if you stand there and stare at them, it has no effect.
Right.
If you turn your back on them, they see it as a terrible insult.
And then that winds them up even more, and they hit you even harder.
If you stand there laughing, you're in
Which the
real
Australians
trouble.
did, I think,
yeah,
didn't they?
yeah. Which who?
The Australians did
That's
that
right.
one time, yeah.
He said, you know, we even thought about staying in the dressing room, let them get on with what I was being on the pitch, but the rules don't allow for that and all that. Well, what I think we should do is England should, develop something more sensational than the haka.
Yeah, I think so.
So, for
I
instance,
agree with that.
So if it's Scotland, then all the Scottish boys should be taught to play the bagpipes, and they should come out playing the bagpipes. Seriously, because that's very
Well,
emotive.
have you ever been to a game at Murrayfield? Because what they do at Murrayfield is when they run out, they have all this kind of huge torches that fire flames up into the air, which is quite an intimidating atmosphere.
Yeah, but that's pyrotechnics. That's like
I know,
boxing
but it's
match,
quite intimidating. And where the Welsh did this once to England, where they gave them, because I remember when I was down in Wales and we urged them to do it again, they gave England the silent treatment. So when England walked out onto the field at Cardiff Arms Park, they just said there was no sound at all.
Arms Park, that was a long time ago.
It was a long time ago. Before the Millennium Stadium, and it was in the days when Gareth Edwards was around.
But anyway, look.
Excuse me, I'm in the middle of telling you a story.
Oh, okay.
Sorry,
go on.
But anyway.
Go on.
I'm sorry to interrupt your complete soliloquy for 5 hours.
No. Go on.
And it was very effective because you can imagine, the cheer that happened when Wales came out.
Right.
So before that, there was utter silence in the stadium. I think that's quite a good way to do it.
If I was an Englishman, I'd love that. I'd think, right, you've got your measure. What the England players should do is...
Sorry to have interrupted you.
That's all right, don't worry. Something spectacular. Like, for instance, I thought, why not make a human pyramid and walk across the pitch human pyramid style?
What, like the amazing, what were those brothers called?
Yeah.
The Karamazov brothers.
Yeah, whatever. You know,
the trapeze artists.
Well, have you seen these guys on these police motorbikes who have all these these human pyramids?
Yeah. Who thinks they come out like on motorbikes?
Well, not on motorbikes.
In a human pyramid.
No, not on motorbikes.
That would be great, actually.
No, not on motorbikes.
If they started doing the haka, just make a massive human
that's
pyramid
what I'm saying.
and drive around the field.
No, not drive around the field, you fool. But what I'm saying is, as the New Zealanders were starting the, karanga, hoanga, awanga, the English players should build up a human pyramid, which the audience would find much more interesting than the haka, because they've seen it a million times before.
Yeah.
And then they should start, revolving like the Tiller Girls, if you see what I mean. You know what I mean? And that would take it away.
That's why it'd be better if they were on bikes.
No, don't be ridiculous. I only said that because we've all seen the famous pictures of police motorbikes and all that.
What are those flying brothers called? You know, the ones that...
Burrito?
Not Burrito.
Burrito Brothers.
Those are the Burrito Brothers.
Yeah, it was, wasn't it?
I don't think so.
I think it was.
I thought a burrito was something Mexican food.
The Scots could come out playing the bagpipes. The Welsh...
Flying Wallenders.
Flying who?
Flying Wallenders, I think they were called.
Never heard of them.
They're the guys that do the tightrope. There was a guy just this week who did some kind of tightrope record.
In Chicago.
I think so.
Yeah, on a very thin rope.
It's called a tightrope.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, The
Welsh. It's not as thin as you think a tightrope.
No,
it's actually quite a thick rope.
It's 2 inches. 2 inches wide.
That's quite a thick
It's like
rope.
walking on the top of anybody could do it. It's like walking on the top of a wall. That's all it is.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
It's much thinner than a wall.
No, it's not.
If you had a wall that thin, it would fall down.
It's not. No, it's not. No. Anyway, look. What I'm saying, the
Welsh.
Welsh.
You walking on the Welsh
could.
Wall.
The Welsh could come out, all gather in the centre, and literally sing "Land of My Fathers" because they're all supposed to be able to sing in Wales.
They do all that. I mean, if you go to a Welsh rugby game at now the Millennium Stadium, I mean, when they sing the national anthem, it's incredible.
Yeah, I know, but
because it's in Welsh as well.
Exactly, and that could outflank the.
I think the best idea you've had. The best idea you've had is definitely to do some form of display on motorbikes in a human pyramid.
I didn't say on motorbikes.
I think that's a great idea.
I didn't.
I think it'd be fantastic.
I think you see, they're big, bulky fellas, rugby players. They can all literally pull themselves up into a human pyramid and then start, spinning round and all that, and that would cause such a fish-on of interest that the old haka going on the other side of the pitch wouldn't be noticed. That's what we should do. We should definitely develop a national. What's the word I'm looking for? Ceremony of to rival haka.
I think
because otherwise all the opposition teams stand there and let themselves be intimidated.
It's true.
It's
I think you're definitely onto something. I just think it's probably not the answer, the one you come up with, but perhaps some people could suggest those answers for us. What I'd also like to do, actually, on a text, you can text us in about ruined endings. You can ruin the endings of some films for us. Maybe ones that Porky hasn't seen.
What?
Like, for example, the Titanic. The ship sinks in the end, that kind of thing.
I saw the Titanic.
And you've seen that one, have you?
I've seen the Titanic.
So you know how that one is. All right,
I've never seen Silence of the Lambs.
All right, well, why don't you ruin Silence of the Lambs for him and send in to 81089 how that ends, and we'll see how he likes that. This is Talk Sport Extra Time. I'm Mike Graham. He is Mike Parry. We've got lots more to do. Loads and loads of good texts and tweets coming in, by the way, which I'm going to read out. Here's one from Derek the Jambo in Edinburgh, who's texted into 81089. He says, Parry, YouTube, the Flying Burrito Brothers are an American rock band.
Oh, well, okay. Well, how was I supposed to know that,
Yeah, not the, well, it was the Flying Wallenders were the people I was looking for. Why don't the England rugby team do some Morris dances, says Ali on the M4. Porky would love that.
Well, I wouldn't mind seeing Morris dancers on the pitch. I mean, they're very English Morris dancers. I like Morris dancers. People deride and mock Morris dancers, but Morris dancers are great people.
No,
because
they look ridiculous, though, don't they?
No, they don't look ridiculous. No, they don't. I see them in country pubs all over England in the summer, and they retain great tradition.
What, doing dancing or just drinking?
Well, a bit of both.
Yeah.
But they go back 600 or 700 years.
Well, I know, but there's nothing much. It's not very exciting watching Morris dancing.
Rubbish. They're terribly important to our culture.
Have you ever tried it?
No.
I think you should.
No.
I think that should be our next project.
No, I personally...
We'll get you with a few bells around your feet.
No. I personally wouldn't want to be a Morris dancer, wearing bells around my knees and wishing like white handkerchiefs around and rattling sticks. You know what they call them sticks, fiddlesticks or something. With your,
I don't know. I thought you were an expert on Morris dancing.
I'm not an expert on Morris dancing. I don't want to be a Morris dancer, okay?
Because they kind of clash the sticks.
Yeah, they clash the sticks and all that. Yeah, it's all pagan stuff, isn't it, and all that kind of stuff. And that's good. Some stories might honestly justify belief. You know,
let me just read you this.
Go on.
Matt the Trucker says this. Talking about cheerleaders earlier, we should get opposing rugby team, particularly England, to run on with pom-poms and do a dance consisting of high kicks and doing the splits, and Porky could have a go at that as well. I mean, I think we're definitely onto something. We're trying to distract these people.
Yeah, we've got to have an alternative ceremony. And what I said is, what would be so spectacular is all the boys get together. There's 15 of them, right? So with 15 and a few subs as well, you could have a line of 8 on the bottom, then 6 or 7. 8 and 7's 15. 15 and 5 is 20. 20 and 3 is 23.
What are you doing?
You could have 24 players.
What are you doing?
In a human pyramid.
How did you get there? Do that again. Let's hear that again.
I've just told you.
No, I want to see it because I'm going to take a note of this.
8, 7, 5, 3, 1. Okay, that's the way you'd build it up.
I don't think you could do 8 and 7. I think it would have to be 8 and 6, wouldn't it?
No. Because each man has a spare shoulder on the right or the left-hand side. So there's only the shoulders.
Spare shoulder. You've only got 2 shoulders.
Yes, I know. I'm talking about that wouldn't be stood on by the people above you. You see what I mean?
If you've got 8 people, surely you can't have somebody standing on the outside. Otherwise, it would be an inverted pyramid.
I know you
can't. Want an inverted pyramid.
But there's only 2 shoulders that will not be stood on. 2 shoulders equals 1 man. So you can have half a man on either side.
Half a man?
Yeah, well, one shoulder.
I think it has to be 8 and then 6 and then 4 and then 2 and then 1.
No, rubbish. It's 8, 7, 5, 3, 1. Believe me, I know these things.
Really?
I know these things. Don't even worry about it.
Well, if you have 3 and then 1, that would be weird looking because then you'd have the top man standing. So it would have to be 3, 2, 1, surely.
No, because the guys below would hold their right and left arms up respectively to make a concave type
This doesn't look anything
shape.
like a pyramid.
Yeah, it does. And just doing that would definitely take the focus away from...
It would.
Because everybody's seen The Hacker a million times. It's not really, different anymore, is it? And it's all about...
well, this is why there's been a big debate this week, as there always has been. There always is whenever the All Blacks come over.
Yeah.
Because they say, well, isn't it a bit passé now? Isn't
it
exactly.
A bit old hat?
Why don't they go up with something else?
Yeah, exactly. I totally agree with that. I mean, it is a bit of a ludicrous ceremony because it only means anything at all to New Zealand people. So it's not it's not like a greeting to the rest of the world. It's not like sharing a piece of culture which is universally understood. It is, in fact, a passage of right to the Maori nation, rite of passage to the Maori nation, and there aren't a lot of Maoris in New Zealand, so I'm not sure why they do it. You see what I mean?
There's more Maoris in New Zealand than there are anywhere else.
Yes, I know there are, but it's like saying that, I tell you what, when the England football team goes out in future, we'll do a rendition of...
always look on the bright side of life?
No. We'll do a rendition of... Here, let me just think about this. The Bladen Races, OK? Because that's very English. Yeah. The only problem is probably less than 10% of the England team are made up of Geordies, just like less than 10% of the New Zealand team are made up of Maoris.
I'm sure it's more
there's
than
very
10%.
few Maoris in New Zealand. Very few.
Where are they then?
Well, there are Maoris in New Zealand, but not a lot of them. I mean, most of New Zealand now is made up of people who went there. They're like immigrants, like America. Yeah. Like, for instance...
But they are the indigenous people of New Zealand.
Of course they're indigenous, but look at it on a bigger scale, because you clearly don't understand what I'm trying to tell you, so I'll make it more graphic for you.
No.
How many Aborigines actually form any part of prominent Australian life? The answer is none.
Well, they would say that's because they've been discriminated against for years.
Who was the last famous Aborigine you knew?
Yvonne Goolagong.
I was going to say, Yvonne, do you know, our PE master at school, Mr. Tom Clamp, who was a former... Yeah, honestly, his name was Tom Clamp.
Mr. Clamp.
No, he was.
That's a terrible name.
He was a former PE instructor
in
the army during the war with Bill Shankly and Matt Busby. They're all and Joe Mercer. They're all in the same regiment together.
You sure he didn't just tell you that?
No, he knew all these guys.
Tell him Porkies.
No, they used to turn up at school.
Really?
You know, yeah, seriously. Honestly.
Bill Shankly, Joe Mercer,
and Matt Busby.
And Matt Busby should turn up at your school.
They would turn up at our school occasionally. No,
absolute rubbish.
No.
I don't believe a word of it.
This is not utter rubbish. I saw Tom Clamp, right, at the 1966.
Excuse me, Mr. Clamp, I've forgotten my shorts today. What should I do?
No, it's true. I saw him at the 1966 FA Cup final when Everton played Sheffield Wednesday with Bill Shankly. I mean, they were bosom buddies because they'd been PE instructors during the war, right?
I don't believe it.
It's true.
That's the most ridiculous story you've told yet about your childhood. Hello, Mum. How was your school day today? Oh, yeah, Bill Shankly, Joe Mercer.
They did.
Who was the other one?
Matt Busby.
They just came by, thought they'd have a little chat with me.
No, you think about it. They all lived in the area.
So,
they were all in Manchester or Liverpool.
So they came to see their mate, Mr. Clamp.
They did.
Absolute rubbish.
No, that's not rubbish.
Now,
they
listen
did.
to this.
Hang on, I haven't finished. Because I've told you about Yvonne Goolagong.
Did Pele stop by once in a while for a game?
No.
With a bit of kick around?
But I remember once we were out on the sports field on a summer's afternoon.
There you go, Maradona, was he there?
We saw Tom Clamp coming over, and Mr. Clamp was great as a great physical training instructor, but he was dense because all the other teachers were from Oxford and Cambridge, but old Tom was from the Army PE unit, and so he comes marching across the field one Friday afternoon. It was the afternoon of the women's
closely followed by the Queen or something at this point,
no, it was the afternoon of the women's singles final, and he said, "Right, lads."
Was Margaret Court with him?
No, he said, "Right, lads, just been watching that women's trial at Wimbledon. I can tell you, it's been won by Yvonne Goolagong." He couldn't get her name right at all.
I was going to ask you about, can you pronounce the name of the guy who's going to be playing for England? You know, the Fijian tank driver that everybody talks about. It's here in the Daily Mail.
Yeah, what is it?
Rokoduguni, I think it is.
Rokoduguni, that's
He's
good,
meant to be very good. Very good player to watch out for.
I tell you what respect can you have for a man who, in his other job, gets into a tank in 40 degrees of temperatures and drives it across the Afghanistan desert in pursuit of his country, telling him this is our bid for stability and freedom. Yeah. What a guy that man must be. Do you know what? I was in Birmingham this week.
He's a free spirit.
He's a free spirit. I was in Birmingham this week, and that town was flooded with the Irish Rangers, an army regiment.
Oh, really?
Royal Irish Regiment, is it?
Royal Irish Rangers, maybe?
Royal Irish. And these guys, young, ever so fit. Our British soldiers always looking in incredibly good shape. You know what I mean? Look tough and fit and all that, and you feel proud of
their reputation is the greatest army in the world.
Of course it is, and all that. And these guys were collecting for Poppy Day, and such a humbling experience to see those guys who had all been to Afghanistan, because I asked them about it, wielding a gun, getting bombed and shot at, IEDs blowing their legs off and all that kind of stuff. And there they are on a what day did I go to Birmingham? Wednesday afternoon. Collecting for poppies. It was a very humbling experience. Now, you're going to read me something.
Yeah, I've got something from Stocksy here, who has texted into 81089. He says, I've never seen Peaky Blinders, or in Mr. Parry's case, Porky Blunders, which I think is very good. Please don't let him near future episodes of Waking the Dead, because I would be gutted if he did spoilers on that. And here's one from Matthew, who says, Mike Parry, you have ruined Peaky Blinders for me and millions.
No.
You are an insufferable bore.
I'm an insufferable bore? I've been called many things in my life. I've never been called a bore.
I don't think you're a bore. That would be wrong. But you've ruined it for him and millions of others.
No, I haven't. Honestly.
And here's one from Lee in South Wales, who says, great show. Please, Mr. Graham, can you tell the listeners what quiz will Porky be failing miserably at this morning?
No.
It does make me laugh. We're giving you just a general geography quiz this morning.
Quiz.
Because you've been around the world many times.
Geography.
And I know...
Do it blindfolded.
And how about this one from Peter in Wallasey? Now, I assume you can say this if you're from Wallasey.
Yeah.
You'll know this term. He says, Mike, I just heard Porky say he hasn't seen Silence of the Lambs. I wonder if he's heard of the Liverpool version. Shut up, yous.
Shut up, yous. I like that.
You like that?
I like that. That's very good indeed. Of course, Wallasey is beaky territory, Graham Beecroft, and well known to me. Wallasey used to be a ferry getting to Wallasey. Used to be a ferry from Liverpool to Wallasey. Yeah,
discontinued
a few years ago.
The Widnes Bridge?
No.
from the Runcorn to Widnes Bridge, as some people call it.
Different part of the Mersey.
You'll be pleased to know there are no questions about the Runcorn to Widnes Bridge in the geography quiz, nor are there any questions about the M63.
Excellent, good.
So it's about other parts of the world, more exotic parts of the world. Anyway, we are the two mics. Looking to light for a minute because we've got to do something else. Coming up, we're going to be talking astrology because Ronald Reagan's astrologer Joan Quigley passed away recently.
That's right.
And we're going to talk to Chris Flisher, who's from turningthewheel.com, to find out how important this woman was actually in Ronald Reagan's life and in the policies that he made. I mean, maybe she's the one that's responsible for bringing down the Berlin Wall, for heaven's sake.
Maybe.
You never know. This is TalkSport Extra Time. I'm Mike Graham. We've got loads more to do. We've got Porky's quiz coming up on geography, of course. We're going to be talking about the problem of these crash for cash gangs that may have afflicted Mr. Parry when you came in last week. Because I want to ask you some more about the guy from Ramsgate. But right now, though, we're going to talk about astrology, Mike. Because Joan Quigley was the astrologer to the Reagan. She died a little bit towards the end of October, aged 87.
Yeah.
And she was called on by First Lady Nancy Reagan after John Hinckley's assassination attempt on the president. And the belief is that she actually may have guided the Reagan White House.
That's right.
Not only in terms of what Nancy did, but in terms of what the president did as well. And we're going to talk to Chris Fleischer, a professional astrologer, who's going to tell us what he thinks about this particular story. Chris, a very good morning to you. Welcome.
Hey, how are you guys doing?
Yeah, very well, Chris. Thanks very much for joining us. You're an astrologer, obviously, highly qualified and a great researcher in your craft. But Joan Quigley, is she ranked as great within the confines of astrology?
Oh, I think she was a pioneer by all stretch of the imagination, simply because of the fact that you got that far. I mean, if you get the president's ear or the first lady's ear, I would call you successful. But with regard to her craft, she obviously knew astrology. You don't have to convince me that astrology works. So, a lot of it is good luck on her part. I mean, she was certainly the right person at the right time in the right place with the right credentials to get Nancy Reagan's ear. So I would say she was incredibly successful.
Yeah.
There's a lot of astrologers who practice astrology who are very, very good.
Yeah, I totally agree. We wouldn't have known anything about her if it hadn't been for the similarly named Donald Regan, head of staff at the White House, who revealed in a book years after the Reagan administration ended that this one was guiding things like, well, it's not the right day to pull down the Berlin Wall. I mean, that is a massively influential position to be in.
I know, it is great. I wish I had that kind of audience. But the other thing is that, astrology is really a theme-based understanding. It's a theme-based science. So you can look at the planets for the day and make a judgment call on what things look like based on where things are, because it's all about geometry. It's the relationship of planets to each other that create the kinds of atmosphere that you're looking for. It's not spooky. It's not woo-woo or anything like that. It's down-to-earth, practical application of geometry to what's happening on the Earth.
But in terms of the thing that I always find, and I know that you'll probably find this to be a very stupid question, but I mean, when we look at, say, horoscopes in the newspaper and we know, would you mind not blowing your nose while I'm asking the gentleman a question?
Excuse me, I'm not blowing my nose.
You are blowing your nose.
I have a sinus problem, which I've had for years, and I'm afraid that, in extreme sort of conditions like air conditioning, I'm very sorry about this, Chris. I wish he hadn't interrupted you. Please continue.
Let me just ask this question. Yeah, when we look at the horoscopes in the paper, and, this is your horoscope for the day, and it talks about, and even if you go more closely into it, and for example, I've met people that I share a birthday with on occasion, right? And they are completely different to me, and I've always thought to myself,
well, thank God for that.
Well, yeah. Well, how can you write somebody's kind of astrology pattern based on the day they were born when the people that were born on the same day as me are nothing like me?
Very good question. That's the most commonly asked question in astrology.
Is it?
It comes down to
so it's not a good question, it's an obvious question.
Well, would you mind letting him answer?
Yes, of course.
Well, it's both. It comes down to the precision of the chart, because every person has a variety of planets in their chart. You could be born. I've got twins, okay? I've got twin sons that were born 6 minutes apart.
Right.
And yet their lives are different. Absolutely, they're different. But the theme of what their days are and what they're going through on those days are the same. All anybody needs to know in order to have astrology be more accurate for them is one more point in that chart. So everybody knows what their sun sign is. You're an Aquarius, you're a Gemini, or whatever. But what they don't know is it's based on the actual time, the minute of their birth. If they know the minute of their birth, they can get another point.
So is the minute of your birth actually in some ways more important than your sign, your star sign?
Well, I would argue that it gives you that extra degree of granularity that makes it that much more accurate. As a matter of fact, it's called the rising sign, or also known as the ascendant. If an individual knows their sun sign and their rising sign, and they read the two of them together, they're going to get 85% accuracy of their weekly chart.
Should we do I don't know if you mind if we do this, Chris. I mean, if I was to tell you what time I was born, and roughly...
How do you know what time you were born?
Because my mother told me.
Really?
I know your mother didn't speak to you, but I mean, you know, his mother, by the way, got rid of all the pictures that she's got of him as a child, which is another story altogether. Yeah. But if I told you the time I was born and I told you...
Why would you want to know what time you were born? What kind of a nutter wants to ask his mother, hey, Mummy, what time was I born?
I didn't ask her. It happened to come up in conversation years later.
She just thought she'd tell you?
Well, she said it was interesting because I was born...
By the way, Michael, have I ever told you were born at 4...
My mother was not Mrs. Doubtfire,
You were born at 4:23 a.m.
I was born actually at 7... No, the reason it was important, she said to me, was because I was born during visiting hours, which she said
really?
accounted for being a very awkward personality. But Chris, I was born at 7 o'clock at night, and I'm a Leo. What can you tell me about me?
7 o'clock at night, you were born?
Yeah.
You were born at 7 o'clock at night, and you're a Leo, you say, right? But yeah, so your rising sign, this is what the most important piece of it comes down to. Your rising sign is based on that time of birth, and that's what's critical. So now every time you go and you read Leo, you're also going to want to go and read what's happening with Pisces. And when you read those two together, you're going to get an idea exactly what's going on in your life.
Okay.
And there's a way to find that out. If you go to my website, there's a calculator. There's a thing on there that allows you to put your birth date, your birthplace, and your birth time in there, and it'll tell you what your rising sign is. So then once you memorize your rising sign, you read that each week or each day as well as Leo, and then you put the two of them together, you're going to get 85% accuracy, because if it's not one, it's going to be the other.
And your website is turningthewheel.com, is that right?
Turningofthewheel.com.
Turning of the Wheel.
There's a thing on there that's turningofthewheel.com, www.turningofthewheel.com.
So you can't just give me like 3 words to describe my personality from that.
Yeah, big fat oaf.
You're big, you're a big bold blowhard who is lost in the clouds. How's that?
That sounds good. Now, what about Porky? Let's do you.
Hang on. Before we do,
let's have your. You know, you don't know what time you were born.
No, I don't know.
You came out of an egg. Probably.
No. Now, Chris, let me put this to you, okay? Because Reagan wasn't the first president, or his wife.
Sorry, we're going back to Reagan now.
Yeah. Or his wife to use an astrologer. So explain this to me. Nancy Reagan was not the first lady to place reliance on the stars. Hang on. Florence Harding, wife of the luckless 29th President Warren Harding, read her and her husband's charts on a religious daily basis. She told him he was going to have a good day and was rather taken aback when the president died a few hours later of a heart attack in 1923 while on the campaign trail in San Francisco. So she must have been reading the wrong chart on that day.
It's quite possible she had inaccurate information, or more precisely, is what people have in the way of an expectation of astrology. I'm not going to tell you, Mike, to go out and buy a lottery ticket tomorrow because you have good aspects, but I would say, hey, for example, this might be a really good week for you to start looking at your retirement plans or where your money is, what bank account your money is in. It is theme-based. This is what I'm saying. It's theme-based. So when Joan went to Nancy and said, hey, don't let Ronnie go out this week because he's dangerous of getting hurt.
Yeah.
She probably was right about that, but she couldn't say the hour or the day or the minute that could happen.
Yeah, well, he still got shot.
I don't believe that astrology is that. I don't believe
it was after he got shot.
Yeah, exactly.
It was after he got shot that she contacted Joan Quigley.
Yeah. I mean, listen, Chris, with the greatest respect, the only thing we know that the planets actually physically do is direct the tides, the tidal waves of oceans on Earth.
I thought that was the moon.
Oh, is that the moon?
Yeah, that's the moon.
No, well, that's a planet. I said it's a planet.
The moon is not a planet, no.
Of course it's a planet.
It's not a planet.
Here's the way to think of it.
Mm-hmm.
Think of it like, you know what, you must know what a corkscrew is, right?
A corkscrew, definitely.
No, he knows that. That's his favourite pastime, opening bottles.
I think you probably used one a couple of times, okay?
Yeah, definitely.
The corkscrew is That's what time is like. Time is like a gigantic Helios, it's called. So it's going around and around, but at the same time, it's going forward.
Yeah.
When planets come back to the same spot in time where they were before, the same type of theme occurs. Perfect example is in 1929, Uranus was in Aries, and we had the Great Depression in the United States. And right now, we are at a point in time where it's 84 years later, and Uranus is back in that position again, and we are on the brink of a financial collapse, I believe, in the United States. Very close to it. It's only a matter of time.
That is bad news. What is the Christian relationship with astrology? America's very much a Christian
good
country.
Question.
Yeah.
My father was an Anglican minister, so I have a really clear understanding of this.
Mm-hmm.
He did not believe it for a bit. As a matter of fact, he threw all my books out the window when I was a kid.
Yeah.
But the point of the matter is that the Vatican has the largest collection of astrology books in their basement, tucked away, and they, I'm sure, have referred to it in the past.
Very interesting
stuff. Well, listen,
Chris, thank you very much.
Fascinating. Thank you very much indeed for joining us. We should get Chris back on because I'd like him to analyse your stars, actually,
Why?
which we didn't have time to do.
Why?
I could see you were wriggling away from that.
No.
Why wouldn't you want to know what time you were born? What sort of strangeness is that? So you don't know what time of the day you were born?
No idea whatsoever, and it's the fact I least care about in the whole of my existence, right?
Really?
I'm over 50, and the one fact of what time I was born is the one fact I couldn't give a monkey's about.
It's very important to your astrological clock.
I'd rather know what I had for breakfast on day 3 of my life than what time I was born.
Probably kippers out of a tin, I should
Maybe.
imagine. This is Talk Sport Extra Time. We are the two mics. Loads more coming up.
You gotta fight for your right to party.
This is Talk Sport Extra Time. I'm Mike Graham. What on earth was that about, by the way?
What?
A little cheer you let out when the news was going on. You're not
3-0.
supposed to interfere with the news, when the sports headlines are being read
3-0 to Everton, I think that's it's great result that in Europe, and no problem at all on expressing an emotion.
Well, can you refrain from doing it during the news, please?
On an emotion-led channel.
By the way, somebody suggested that hey might actually also be part of that T-Rex song. Solid Gold, Easy Action. You might try and get it onto that.
I know that one. Hey,
that one. See if you can get it onto that one as well. Now, here's a couple of questions for you. Here's one from Graham. Now, this is harkening back to the show last week. Do tunnels go up and down or down and up? Because I think they are built wrong here in Mexico. You might remember you were talking about horizontal tunnels being unusual. You've obviously forgotten about that.
No, I haven't.
The Hellfire Club says this. Ask Porky, the rugby expert, who won that World Cup rugby that he was at in France.
Who won what?
Who won the Rugby World Cup in France that you covered?
South Africa.
Yeah, who they beat in the final?
England.
Very good.
Because I went to the final.
Yeah, you remembered.
That's where I saw Dave. That's where I realised that Campese was Campese.
People like the Hellfire Club think that you don't remember stuff like that.
Come off it, man. Do you think I was doing floating around France, floating around France, getting bladdered on French wine?
Yeah, well, probably.
There was a bit of that, I agree.
Here's one from James, who's tweeted at IROMG, please, can Mike Perry get Tom Clamp on the show? If he's still alive.
Well, I doubt if he would be. He was about 50 then, and that was in the 60s. Right. So, unless he's like Superman.
David Lynch actually says, try Solid Gold, Easy Action with T-Rex. Ryan says this. Do you remember Churchill's famous speech? Porky does. He dropped him off in his Morris Minor, and he says, your Chester's answer to Forrest Gump.
Chester's answer to Forrest Gump.
So it's true, actually. So every single thing that ever happened in the history of the world, you've had some part in it. Well, and then Bill Shankly walked in.
Well, exactly.
It's extraordinary.
No, it might be extraordinary, but I have an extraordinary life because I put myself about a bit, and made sure my life was not wasted.
Now, here's
you only get one life, live it.
Let me read you some of these. There's some great stuff coming in here.
Go on, then.
This is from, where are we? Morning, Mike and Chunky, I presume he means you.
Yeah.
Porky should be on telly, interference, etc. Oh, it's Gary the Milky. He says, also, Silence of the Lamb ends with Agent Starling shooting the bad guy wearing a human suit made of women's skin. That's pretty much it, really. Mike in Glasgow says, maybe Porky could star in a one-off episode of Peaky Blinders. He could play a Scouse Maori who chases away the bad guys by doing a jig and chanting the haka.
Yeah, that's right, at the bad guys. Listen, I do appreciate your amusing interludes, but quite frankly, fellas, you've got to get more realistic about accepting some of the ideas that I put forward because eventually they always come to pass.
They do. Now, what were you going to tell me about the school run? Because you reckon you've been, seen some study that tells you that the school run can be made less stressful if you follow your rules.
Well, it's not less stressful. I just wonder whether you should be doing the school run. Do you know that when you do the school run, so it's usually done between 7:30 and 8:30 in the morning, scientists have found that the levels of cortisol, that's the stress hormone, right, in your body peak at exactly 8:15, right? Yeah. 8:15. That means you're stressed out. That means you're on edge. That means you're more likely to have a car accident on your way back from the school run. It means you get
you're more likely to have a car accident because of the terrible way that some of the people who go on the school run drive, which is appalling.
Yeah, you get prematurely tired during the day because you've had so much stress in the first hour of the day, OK? And also, if you've got children aged 5 to 15, which you have, of course,
I have, yes.
Right, 30% of parents who were surveyed for this in-depth study of the school run says that messes up the timings of their intended day for the rest of the day, OK?
Right.
So, for instance, you've allocated 40 minutes for the school run, 20 minutes there, 20 minutes back.
Right.
That goes to 50 minutes because of roadworks or the fact that you've got to queue up to drop your kids off at the other end or... anything unrelated.
Well, let me tell you a story about last night.
Then your day is out of sync for the rest of the day.
Well, let me tell you a story about last night. And it is very stressful, I have to say,
right.
because, one of the problems that we have at the moment is that the two kids are in two different schools, right?
Right.
So you have this kind of idea where you either have to get a childminder to pick up one of them or the two of us. I mean, I can't always be there, obviously, because I'm busy and I'm working up in London.
How far apart are the schools?
The two schools are probably about a 20-minute drive apart. I mean, they're...
Good God.
One's in one town and others in another town, basically.
So by the time you've set off from your house...
You couldn't pick up the two of them at the same time. If you're a single mother, for example, you'd have no chance of picking them both up.
So by the time you set off from your house to drop your first child off and then to second school, and then return to the house, how long is that all in total?
Well, you can't do it that way because you have to drop the kids off at the same time. So unless you've got a TARDIS, you literally cannot do it. So you need to have two people taking the two different kids to the two different
Suppose you've only
schools.
got one car.
Well, everybody's only got one car. What's had to be done is an arrangement's been made with another parent who's also got the same problem. So we basically flip. So you can take the kid to the nearest school. That's only 5 minutes away.
Yeah.
And then what happens then is some days.
And why are your kids in different schools?
Well, because people move around and
And you forgot to apply to the right school.
Well, no, it's not as simple as that.
Yeah,
you try and get
organise your
children.
life, man. Organise your life.
If you talk to any parent, they will say to you, what happens is that the schools are over full at the moment. In any school in this country, it's very hard to get kids into, right? Because there's so many people who have moved into certain areas. I know you're not interested in any of this.
I am interested.
Try and look as if you're at least listening to me.
No, I'm very interested.
So what happens is, they say to you, right, well, we've got a space for him, but we haven't got a space for the other brother. So I'm afraid you'll just have to leave the one where he is. So even if you've moved house, which is what we did, you end up with two disparate kids in two different schools. And the reason, in later times when they go to secondary school, they'll be both back in the same school.
I'm not sure.
It's very complicated.
I'm not sure siblings should go to the same school anyway.
Well, I'm not sure that they should either, but they should at least go to a school in the same town, which would be helpful.
You'd think so, but the trouble with having siblings at schools is you've always got an older brother. So if you're
my sister and I went to the same primary school, but not the same secondary school.
Right, okay. But if you've got an older brother in school...
Did you go to the same school as your family, your sisters? You've got two sisters, right?
Yeah, two sisters. Only up to the age of 8.
Did they ever see Bill Shankly?
Well, no, because they didn't go to my school, did they? So Mr. Clamp wasn't there.
Oh, this is your secondary school?
Yes.
Okay.
No. He's actually my junior school. At 8, I went to the junior school of the King's School, Chester.
Well, where was Mr. Clamp then?
He was at the King's School, Chester.
All right.
But, you didn't really sort of have much to do with him until he got to 11 and he started looking after the older boys, so to speak, And so my sisters never came across Mr. Clamp.
Right. Or Bill Shankly.
Or
Joe Mercer.
No, of course not.
Or anybody else that popped by.
No, they didn't. But what I'm saying is, to have an older brother in school, some of my mates in my class had elder brothers.
Yeah.
So if we were in, the 5th form, they were in, the lower or upper 6 or something like that. And it was shocking to have an older brother at school because, for instance, they might have become...
Didn't they, look after each other?
No, not at all. It was the opposite. And if the older brother had become a prefect... then you and you got done by that prefect then you had to go and beat up your school, your classmates.
It's violent school. You
Oh,
went
yeah,
to.
it was violent school, yeah. I mean, there was a lot of physical discipline dished out.
No wonder you like the Peaky Blinders so much. You're
No,
quite
no.
a violent sort of
No, not
person.
at all. Not
Well,
at
I
all.
mean, you're not really a violent person, but you quite like talking about violence.
No.
You always talk about it.
No, I don't,
All your
no.
stories end with violence. I've
No,
always told you that.
I don't think so. I abhor violence. I really abhor
Do you?
violence. Yeah. Especially if I'm on the receiving end of it. That's not good violence.
No, good violence is
You know what I
never...
mean?
Hey, hey, hey! 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 Hey, hey, hey!
Well, that fits
Brilliant.
perfectly. That fits perfectly.
That is fantastic.
And isn't there a
Solid gold, easy action
Solid
by
Gold?
T-Rex.
Isn't there a
Tremendous.
Isn't there a Rolling Stones record which has got a hey, hey, hey?
Yeah.
Which one
hey,
is it?
Hey, he, get off of my cloud.
I said, hey, you get off of my cloud. Hey. No, I'm sure there's
No,
a.
there is. That is a hey, he, get off of my cloud.
No,
We
it's
can
not.
try
It's
that.
hey, you. It's not hey,
No,
hey,
it's
he.
hey, he, I think.
It's not. It's
Well, we'll have to
hey,
try it.
it's Jagger. I said, hey, you get off of my cloud. And
We'll see if we can find it and prove you
but
wrong.
there's another record with a hey.
All right, well, well, that's the one we just done. That's
Is it?
T-Rex.
All right, okay. Well, I knew it was something like that. Yeah. Okay. Well, that's all right.
Anyway,
Yeah.
listen, we're going to talk to an expert in the hacker now.
Okay, let's do
you
that.
Obviously not. He's actually seen your hacker. He's the artistic director of the
Okay.
Atamira Dance
Excellent.
collection.
Excellent.
And his name is Moss Patterson. And I think he's calling us all the way from New Zealand. Moss, a very good morning to you.
Kia ora, good morning, how's it going?
Yeah, very well
Hey,
indeed.
I think you could go he, there you go, you'd be off to a good start with your haka practice.
Yeah,
but, no,
well, I'm told,
Certainly.
Moss, that you were kind enough to give a glance over at Porky's rendition of the hacker.
Mm-hmm.
Did you get a chance to look at it?
oh, hell yeah, no, I had a good laugh, it was bloody hilarious actually, but no,
A good
good on you
laugh?
for giving it a go.
What do you mean a good laugh? It wasn't supposed to be funny, man. It was supposed to be a serious interpretation of the hacker.
No, I think, totally, you can give it a good crack first, but once you've learned how to do it properly, that's when you've got to instill it with
Okay.
all of the different
What did you think of
aspects
it?
mana.
I thought the choreography wasn't bad, and
Hmm.
actually his pronunciation of the words seemed reasonable as well. What did you think?
Oh, that would be stretching it a bit, Mike, I think.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, tell us what was
Yeah.
wrong with. Tell us how he got it wrong then.
Yeah.
Well, okay. You can start off with. Actually, I was just doing a little bit of research around the haka myself, and I was thinking, what are some good comparisons here? Because the whole kind of the reason why you do the haka actually is to rid yourself of all of this fear and anxiety before you're about to step into,
Yeah.
I don't know, a new realm or some new space that you're in.
Yeah.
And actually, what's going on there at the start of this match, right, is a moment where these guys are gearing themselves up to launch themselves into this new foray, whatever that might be. And so what they're actually doing, if you're into martial arts or anything, they're actually conditioning their bodies. They're actually sort of slapping themselves, obviously getting their bodies prepared. It was a very old sort of martial arts method of preparing yourself psychically and physically to launch into something. I mean, Churchill, did it with all of his amazing speeches. He would get everyone revved up. That was his style of doing it. Other people sing a song. In New Zealand, we do a dance. We do a haka, and that's what we do. So it's kind of like a.
And what's
a
the?
maiden speech.
We were talking earlier about Mike was saying that although obviously the Maori culture is very much sort of running through all of New Zealand, but
Yeah.
I mean, has the haka been adopted by everyone, even if they're not, if their heritage doesn't go back that far? I mean, obviously the rugby players do it, but what about everybody else?
Oh no! Oh, totally. No. I think in New Zealand the haka is. I mean, it's kind of like it's a household kind of thing to do. I think all of the kids, no matter where you're from, no matter if you are, all colours, all ethnicities are into it in this country. And my kids actually attend, a full immersion. They learn te reo Māori, the Māori language, as a part of their school curriculum, and it's part of what they're doing through the whole education system. So it's well recognised here, and I think it's one of those distinctive things that Kiwis can do to identify themselves. But you know, the haka is not just a war dance. I think that was something I wanted to get across too. Was, you know, you do a haka, you know, to commemorate, someone that's just passed away. You can do a haka when you're elated and happy, which is actually how this haka came about. You know, this guy was running from someone. He was hiding in a kumara pit, and
well, that's it. The words say, "Will I die? Will I die?" This is the hairy man, right?
The hairy man.
The hairy man. It's quite good for you, Porky, because you're the hairy man.
Don't be ridiculous. Now, Moss.
Have you not shaved for a few days?
Yeah. Now, Moss. Let me ask you this: no international team has yet cracked how to face the haka and dismiss it. You know, they've tried just to stare at them, they've tried to turn their backs, they've tried to laugh at it and all that. What is it about the haka that makes it, you know, so difficult to overcome, for the opposition to overcome? And is it fair that the All Blacks are the only team in the world who do go through this sort of mating ritual before the game?
Well, they're not the only team. I've told you that. They're not the only team.
The only team in world rugby.
No, they're not. Tonga do it. Samoa do it.
Tonga don't play in big-time
world
football.
World Cup. They're playing in the World Cup.
I don't care. They don't play the...
He doesn't know anything about rugby. I'm sorry, Moss.
They don't play the major Six Nations. That's what I'm saying.
Well, they're playing the Six Nations. It's not in Europe.
Listen, mate, they don't play in the three teams in the Southern Hemisphere
either. They play in the World
either.
Cup. They play in the World Cup.
Well, they don't play regularly against South Africa, New Zealand and Australia, do they?
They'll be over here for the Autumn Internationals.
Put that in your pipe and smoke
They'll be over here for the Autumn Internationals.
Sorry, Moss.
No, I mean, it's totally all about mutual respect, you know. It's kind of, you know, I'm not too sure if I agree with that rule either. I don't think it's too fair that the teams just get to stand there and watch. I mean, it would be fantastic if they responded. You know, I mean, most of the beautiful moments in haka, actually, you know, I mean, to put beauty and haka together, I mean, it's quite ferocious. But, you know, these fantastic moments where you see, you know, I was at my sister's wedding. I was there with my family, and I was obviously, I said, come on to my brothers and my friends, let's get up and we'll do a haka to commemorate this moment. And then her dad, her husband's dad got up and he started playing Danny Boy on his bugle. Right in the middle of us playing this song, and I was like, we're kind of booming, and he's playing, and everyone starts singing, and it was, you know, it's quite phenomenal. It's a great exchange of cultures and things. So, you know, I think, you know, and even on our traditional marae, you know, when people are coming into a new space, they are welcomed with a haka, and often the group that is coming in will reply with a haka as well. So. It's kind of this mutual respect thing. It is kind of the meeting of energies, if you like, you know. Right. But it's about balance and it's about mutual respect. It's about getting ready. You know, hopefully we can enjoy it. It's not what are they calling it, a circus act? I think that's not really. It doesn't really speak about what's actually going on, which is really these guys are trying to rid themselves of fear and anxiety so they can get into the match. So I totally think that the England team should be able to respond somehow. You know,
Porky's idea was that they should form a human pyramid of some type, which I think would be great. It'd really throw them, wouldn't it?
Yeah, well, it was something like that. I mean, what I'm trying to say is we should try and do something to take the whole focus of the stadium and all its spectators off the Kiwis and back onto the opposition, who are standing there limp and inert and impotent.
Well, what's something that's going to get the England players revved up, is going to get them conditioned into playing this match, and is going to rid themselves of fear and anxiety. You know, is there anything there? I mean, you were just playing Mick Jagger's hey, 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 could they not sit around and go, hey, hey, hey? I mean, could they not kind of launch into one of Mick Jagger's songs? I don't know, you know, what's something that's really meaningful? Because, I mean, to be honest, you know, what we've done with the haka is we have, this is a regional dance. It's a regional piece of poetry that the nation has adopted to signify this team, you know, and it's you know, written in 1810. It's you know, has obviously a very traditional sense of mana or pride to it. Is there, you know, what would be an equivalent?
We'll have to come up with that. I'm still thinking that the human pyramid idea is a great one. Moss, listen, thanks so much for joining us. Moss Patterson,
thank you very much
from Down Under in New Zealand. He's the artistic director of the Atamira Dance Company. I have to say, I don't think you were too impressed with your version of it, but I have to say, I was very impressed with it. And if you want to see it, it's out there. We'll retweet it actually at the two mics, at Mike Perrier and at IROMG. Kate Nick says this: why can't the England rugby team wear sailor suits and do a hornpipe? The Irish could be leprechauns and do river dance. That would show the New Zealanders.
Yeah.
And here's another one.
I wish people would take my ideas a bit more seriously, you know. Honestly, God, is the level of intelligentsia in this country seeping so low that anybody with an original idea is subject to mockery and ridicule?
How about this from Ronnie in Lancashire? He says, Parry, you lunatic, have you got a birth certificate? It tells you the time on it. As a twin, it is important to me. So if you've got a birth certificate, you haven't burned that. You know, you could actually look at it and it'll tell you exactly what time you were born.
I haven't got a birth certificate.
Why haven't you got a birth certificate?
I don't know. Why should I have one?
Because you need to. You not need to. Have you not ever needed to show you prove your birth certificate exists?
Not to my knowledge.
At some point, like you need
No.
it. Don't you need it to get a passport? Don't you need it to get
Well,
sometimes
hang
to get
on.
a mortgage?
I've had a passport all my life. So, you know, you don't need a birth certificate to renew a passport.
You need it to when you get married. Of course, so you wouldn't need it for that, would you?
Well, no, because I never got married,
No, you
did
never
I?
got married.
No.
But sometimes it's one of the documents they ask you for when you're applying for financial assistance in some way, or if they're applying for a loan, don't they?
But if you've got a passport, you must have had a birth
Yeah,
certificate.
I suppose so. But I'm amazed you don't have a copy of your own birth certificate.
Well, nobody's got one.
Yeah, they have.
Have you
Of course
got
they
yours?
I haven't got mine anymore, no, because it got lost in the
That's what I'm saying.
divorce, I'm afraid.
That's what I'm saying. So,
but I did have.
and can you get a copy of your birth
You
certificate?
can get a copy of it.
How
yeah.
do you know that?
You have to apply to the records office.
Okay.
Because I know, because I've had to do it for my daughter.
I mean, the hospital I was born has been knocked down.
Not
So,
surprisingly.
What's
They've got a plaque there.
What's that supposed to mean?
Well, it's like something out of the Omen, isn't it?
What do you mean?
You know, it's like when something terrible happens in a building, they always destroy it later.
You mean like Fred West's house?
Yeah,
and all
yeah,
that kind of
just
stuff.
knock it down. Yeah. Well, I wasn't going to mention him.
That is a bit harsh.
A couple of other ones here. There's another guy, John in Glasgow. He says some very unkind things about you. Actually,
Yeah.
he says you never. Does he ever shut up? He talks over every interview.
No, I don't.
He says he hates it, but the thing he hates the most is that he says he has ruined the viewing of one of my favourite shows due to his ignorance of telling the nation the plot of Peaky
I'm
Blinders.
sorry, what's this guy's name again?
John in Glasgow.
Well, John in Glasgow, organise your life, man. It's not my fault. It's not my fault you can't get home in time. You can't drag yourself out the
Well,
boozer.
people are working.
Can't drag
People
yourself
are
out
working overnight.
the boozer where you're probably throwing pints of heavy down your throat with all your Scottish
There's no
mates.
need to be nasty to him.
Going outside and smoking a packet of cigarettes every 20 minutes and basically neglecting your domestic duties to then get home when closing time comes around, which is usually about sort of 1:45 in Glasgow, isn't it? And then...
There's no need to be rude.
And then switching on the radio because you want an input of knowledge to learn that the Peaky Blinders has been and gone. I mean, I can't help you with that, John. Is it John?
It is John.
John,
yeah.
I can't help you with that, John.
And here's one from Barney, the Rawson night god, who says, Porky, you buffoon. The haka is not just for New Zealand, it's done all over differently. Tonga, Samoa, the Cook Islands, to mention but a few. And finally, Sean...
It's a South Pacific thing.
Yes, it is.
It doesn't happen in the Northern
By
Hemisphere.
the way, it sounded...
doesn't happen in South Africa. It doesn't happen in Argentina.
From what Moss was saying, it sounds very much as though the Maori culture is very much alive and well in the whole of New Zealand.
Yeah, I'm sure it is.
You said that, there was hardly any Maoris left in New Zealand.
There aren't.
Actually, you're completely wrong about
There's
that.
no Maoris in New
Because the Maori culture, there are no Maoris
Well,
in New
I mean,
Zealand.
there's not many, that's what I'm saying.
Right, how many do you think there are? I'm going to have to look this one up.
Well, not many.
Well...
There's
Not many. What,
No.
3 or 4?
Well, hang on.
A couple of hundred?
Hang on, sorry, what was the name of the last Maori Prime Minister of New Zealand?
I don't think they've ever had one.
Well, there you go.
What does that mean? What does that mean anything?
What was the name of the last Aborigine Prime Minister of Australia?
Well, they haven't had any because they've been discriminated against. That's the whole point.
I totally agree. A bit like the Red Indians, by the way.
Yeah.
See that ridiculous
They can't-
story
don't
this
tell
week?
me another story. Look at the time.
Well, I'll tell you a
Look into
story
the
in a
light.
minute
Tell
about
it
Red
to me-
Indians.
Tell it to me in a minute. You
Wiped-
Native Americans.
wiped out by the
Native
cavalry.
Americans.
Yeah.
I don't know why you're so obsessed with the Wild West. I'll tell you what I did want to ask you about, actually.
Yes,
Is to harken
yes.
back to last week when you came in having said that you were hit from behind, rather unfortunately, by some
Yeah.
character in a BMW.
Yeah.
I saw a story this morning, and it was from the Aviva Insurance Company, saying more than 50% of fraudulent motor injury claims
Yeah.
are now being made
Yeah.
by these organised gangs.
Unbelievable.
In this thing called Crash for Cash. What I meant to ask you is, have you heard anything more from the guy?
Oh, yeah, he's been very honest about it.
Has he?
Yeah, I didn't even take his registration number.
No, I remember that was a bit of a worry, wasn't it?
Yeah, so I rang him up and said, look, would you mind texting it to me? He said, no, not at all. I tell you what the worrying thing was, actually, from his point of view, not mine. And he's a young fella, and he's been very decent about it. He hasn't tried to get out of it. He said, I'll pay you in cash. And I
That's
said,
good. Well, that must have been a bit of a relief, because I think
Yeah.
when you left the studio last Friday morning, you were wondering whether it was some kind of scam.
No,
I certainly was.
well, you never know. But when I rang him on the Saturday, I was actually on the Portsmouth ferry boat, going across the harbour.
Oh, yeah.
I gave him a
What were you on
call
that for?
because I was going across the harbour from one side to the other.
Yeah, but what were you going to Portsmouth for?
Because I go to Portsmouth to meet friends for lunch and all that kind of stuff, you know. And Portsmouth's a bigger town than
pub?
Gosport. Sorry?
In a pub.
Well, in a restaurant usually. That's usually where they serve meals, in a
Well,
restaurant.
in pubs as well.
There's sometimes in pubs, yeah, if you're sort of bit down market like
By the
you
way,
are.
I've got to raise a question with
Yeah.
you as well. What
Yeah.
on earth was that you were having on the train for lunch?
That was my...
Gammon and peas.
Well, do you know what?
Was that a sandwich?
Yeah, it was, yeah.
Gammon and peas
The gammon and
sandwich.
peas sandwich, yeah, it was great,
That
yeah.
sounds horrendous.
Yeah, no, listen, let me tell you. How about this, right? Now, I don't want to, commercially plug anything, but shall we just say the train company that I went to Birmingham on Wednesday, right?
Yeah.
Now, my housekeeper lady, she's very good on the computer, so she books...
So you got her to book your ticket
She
for you?
books the tickets in advance for me, right?
Poor woman.
So I'm going to Birmingham and back first class, okay?
Yeah,
So
of course.
I get to Euston Station, and there's a first class lounge, right?
What, first class lounge, what, at Euston?
At Euston.
Is it?
At Euston.
What's
yeah.
that for?
First class passengers.
So what are you doing there?
Well, I'm just about to tell you. You see, I thought I was going to be having to buy some breakfast to take on the train or something like that, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
To keep my energy levels up for the day ahead, Very productive day, by the way, which I'll tell you about
good, yeah.
later. Yeah. And so I go in the first class lounge, and I had a banana, 2 croissants, and 2 cups of coffee for free. Right?
Oh, great. You
Yeah.
saved yourself about £7.
Well, hang
And
on.
how much did the train ticket cost?
Well, hang on, let me tell you. So then I go and get on the train, allocated seat, four, a table of 4 and all that, and only me on it, so plenty of room, and all that, spread out the papers and that kind of stuff. And a young lady
You're
comes
such
up.
a snob, aren't you?
Hang on. Young lady comes up, she says, would you like some breakfast? And I said, well, I just had a croissant. I said, well, what do you got for breakfast? She said, or the full English. I said, full English? So I don't eat eggs. She said, that's all right, I'll give you an extra sausage.
Eggs.
Yeah, so I get the extra sausage, right? And some bread and butter and all that, and it was marvellous. And the journeys to...
they used to do that on the train that I came up from Wiltshire on.
well-
But they used to actually have a buffet car where
Yeah.
you could, a proper white tablecloth,
Yeah.
first class sort of buffet car
Yeah.
where you could sit and have breakfast. It was brilliant. But then they discontinued it. Hardly anybody does it anymore.
Well, people who got holiday homes in Cornwall.
Yeah.
The favourite thing they used to do, and this is a standard journey, was that either in business or politics or something like that. At 2 o'clock on a Friday, they all piled onto this train, which went down to somewhere like Penzance, right? Excuse me, are you listening?
Yeah. I'm just
You
reading
see-
some tweets.
You see, yeah.
Well, I've got to read some tweets because you
Yeah.
never do it anymore.
Yeah, well,
You're
listen-
supposed to
listen,
keep an eye on it as well.
I'm going to read some. But they used to get on this train, right,
Yeah.
at Paddington Station, and it took about 4 hours, and they all used to pile into the buffet car, but it wasn't like a buffet, it was a dining car.
Yeah, it was a proper dining
It's
car,
dining
yeah.
car. White linen tablecloths.
That's right.
Selection of 6 or 7 different bottles of wine, you know what I mean? All this kind of stuff. Fully cooked. And it was an idyllic journey, because a lot of it went along the coast, the south, on the south
Well,
coast.
past that Dawlish, remember
Absolutely,
that bit of Dawlish,
yeah,
the
yeah.
railway
That
track
collapsed.
all
That's right,
swept
yeah,
away
yeah.
by the
Yeah.
whatever.
All of that. And then they discontinued it because it was not cost productive anymore. You couldn't get enough people in the buffet cars and all that kind of stuff. But that used to be the ideal journey. But anyway, I haven't finished yet. So I get up to Birmingham.
So what's so great about paying a massive amount of money to go first
Well, hang
class
on, hang on.
so you get a bit of free food?
Hang on. So I get up there and I go to all these meetings in Birmingham. Get back on the train coming back. That's when I was offered the old gammon and pea sandwich.
Was that what you got in first class?
Yeah.
In first class, you got a gammon and pea sandwich.
I could have had anything I wanted, but I just didn't.
You actually chose that.
I'd been to lunch
That's
in Birmingham.
unbelievable.
I'd been to lunch in Birmingham. So it's just like an evening snack.
And people noticed you had a bottle of wine from another place, though.
Oh, somebody bought that for me, to be honest.
Right.
And anyway, the whole cost of my trip there and back was £52.
Right.
Now that's an absolute bargain.
I suppose it's not that bad.
It's an absolute bargain.
You could pay more than that to go second class.
Of course you can, with all the nosh and everything, but you've got to book in advance, you see. But I mean, I got it cracked, and it was brilliant. Right, here, I've got some great messages here.
Go on.
Right, Mike Parry, you're the best. I went
Why
to
have you suddenly decided to start with that one?
Well, it's just
You've
here.
just fallen on that one,
It's
have you?
just here. It's
So
just
you
here.
haven't been keeping it to one side.
It says, Porky, I went to the game tonight. EFC forever. Come to Sunderland on Sunday and sing the Blues to a win. I'd love to, mate. I can't do it on Sunday, I'm afraid. I've had a terrible problem weekends getting to Everton games so far this season, and it is distressing me. But there we are. Another one here. What did it say? Oh, yes.
This is why you don't read them out, isn't it?
Hang on. Ocean of Wisdom. That's the name of this guy. It says, the two mics. What about England replying to New Zealand hacker with mums dancing and waving hankies? Band bells don't...
What?
don't.
What?
He means to say intimidate All Blacks, but it says intimate All Blacks. No, I see what you mean. Yeah.
Well, thanks for reading out a couple of
The
tweets.
All Blacks don't get intimidated. Right, here we go. Mike Parry, great show, gentlemen, as always. Solution for the teams facing the hacker. Every player twerks back at them with tight shorts on. Well, I'm sure I'd fancy that. But anyway, there you are.
And
Right.
Derek says, I don't know what you've upset. Well, you've upset the Scots again. Derek says, congratulations, Parry. You just turned most of Scotland against you.
Why?
You arrogant idiot of a man. I
Why?
don't know. I don't
Why?
know what you say
What
to
have I
upset
done?
the Scots.
What have I done? What
I
have I
don't
done?
know. Maybe because you said they should come out and play the bagpipes. I don't know.
No, what's wrong with that? It's your
No, I don't think
national.
there's anything wrong with it.
It's your national instrument, isn't it? I like the Scots. I love Scotland. I think Scotland's got fantastic tradition. Did I say something about? That's our friend from Scotland. Who was the poet who said once? It's never difficult to tell the difference between a Scotsman with a grudge and a ray of sunshine.
I don't know.
It was somebody. It was very
Well, that
unfair.
probably won't have helped. Now, while you consider reading another one out, because
Right.
it seems to be troubling you somewhat, let's have a listen to my version, not my version, but the real version of Get Off My Cloud, which I think you'll find proves me correct.
Okay.
Hey, hey, he, he.
No,
It is. Hey, hey, he, he.
it's not. It's hey, hey, you.
Hey, hey, he, he.
It's not. It's not, honestly.
No, it's hey, hey, he, he.
It's not, Mike. It's not. I've seen the printed lyrics, I've seen them handwritten. It's hey, hey, you.
You know, Mike, I've got perfect pitch in my ears. You know that, don't you?
Well-
I've got a certificate to prove it.
Well, there's got to be something like you want to do that's perfect, because nothing else is. But
Well, would you like to hear your version of it with your sound in there as well?
Yeah, go on. Yeah.
See if we got
Why
that.
not?
Hey, hey! Hey, hey!
Yeah, that's great.
Oh, that's good.
Oh, that's very good.
Hey, hey!
Mike Pagger.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Anyway, so you've been proved wrong again, I think.
No, I don't think I've been proved wrong at all. Now,
Now, I'm told by our extensive research department
Oh, yes.
behind the glass, it was PG, it says Woodhouse here. I presume you mean
Wodehouse.
Wodehouse.
Yeah.
PG Wodehouse. It's never difficult to distinguish between a Scotsman with a grievance and a
Oh, I
ray of
see.
sunshine.
Yeah. Well, that's
Very good, yeah.
Yeah, it is very good. You see, I remember that, and you didn't, because you know nothing
Well,
about
no, I
English
didn't
literature.
realise that he'd written that. What book did he write that in?
He didn't. He made it as a comment and an observation.
He also said he was a poet.
Well, he's a poet.
He's not. PG Wodehouse is not a poet. He's an
written,
author.
He's written poems.
Has he?
Yes. Well, he wrote one called the Bluebell.
Did he? The Bluebell
Yeah.
by P.G. Wodehouse. Do you want me to look that up?
Yeah, sure. Look it up.
Maybe
Yeah.
we can read
Look it up. Look it up.
He wrote this in Blandings Castle, which is one of his novels from 1935.
Is that right? Yeah. Well, there you go. You see, so you know that
So
as well.
The Bluebell by Wodehouse.
Yeah, the Bluebell by Wodehouse.
Perhaps we can have a poetry reading since you've been hanging around with your thespian friends today.
Well, I've written a lot of poetry anyway.
You've written poetry.
I-
I've heard one of your poems. You wrote a poem about me, which was just basically a series of insults.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, but that fitted. But at school, I won poetry awards because I was.
Well, I've yet to see
I was very
any
gifted.
proof of all this stuff that you say you won. I've yet to see a picture of
Yeah.
you with Joan Collins, which you keep threatening to bring in.
Oh, yeah, I've got
yet to
that.
see a picture of you feeding the ducks, which you keep threatening to post on
No
Twitter.
problem at all.
Nothing has ever appeared.
No, honestly, no problem at all. Where did you used to go on holiday as a child?
Where?
Yes.
A variety of places, actually. When I was very young, we used to go to the Channel Islands quite a lot. We used to go to Guernsey. And then when I was around about 6, we used to drive across Europe and go camping.
Yeah, did you-
You're going to wait for the answer, or are you just going to...
Well, the answer doesn't fit the question yet.
Oh, well, why don't you ask me a different question?
No. What?
Did you ever go to, for
Yes,
example?
exactly. Didn't you ever go to any of the wonderful British seaside coastal resorts we've got here?
No. Well, only
Why
once I
not?
went to Blackpool, I think.
Yeah, Blackpool.
When my dad... Actually, my dad called it the year of the short corn, because we used to go abroad. We used to go to...
Year of the short corn.
yeah, meaning that he
What does
didn't
that
have
mean?
much money.
I see, right.
I mean,
okay,
quite
yeah.
often it was the year of the short
that
corn
was
when
a-
my old man was concerned.
It was the year of the short
Year of the
corn.
short corn.
We
I
took
guess
the,
it's a
we
farming
took the
description.
beaten up old car to
Yeah.
Blackpool.
So instead of going off to places like Spain or
Yeah.
Italy, this one particular
Yeah.
year we went to
Yeah.
Blackpool,
Yeah.
which I will tell you about in a moment, because once again you've started to ask me about a story
And-
when we haven't got time to
And I
develop
want to
it.
tell you about the fact that we should start a campaign to save the British coastal resorts. They're dilapidated, they're falling into ruin and wreck, and we can't allow it.
Ruin and wreck. Obviously, it's been at Hastings. It's been in wreck and ruin for a long time. This is Talk Sport with the two mics.
My boyfriend's back and you're gonna be in trouble.
Hey!
La-di-la, my boyfriend's back. See him coming, better cut out on the double.
Hey!
La-di-la, my boyfriend's back. You've been spreading lies.
That's my favourite one so far.
I just don't get this. You asked me to do a version of the Hacker, which I did. You've now taken bits of that Hacker.
It's nothing to do with me.
And you're inserting it into
nothing to do with me.
every record which sounds mildly like what I did with the Hacker.
No, it's nothing to do
Once
with me.
again, you've disrespected me. You have tried to make me look small in the eyes of the listener.
You look small in anybody's eyes.
No. And do you know what it's all about, Mike? It's all about your inferiority complex in the same studio as me.
Not at all. I have had nothing to
You
do with any
have
of that.
got a
As you
terrible
said,
inferiority
one of the-
complex.
No, I'm not the one with the inferiority
Yes,
complex.
you are.
You are the one with the inferiority complex.
You've got a terrible inferiority complex, you have, because you believe that you're streets behind me when it comes to...
Streets behind
Yes, when it comes to
you.
seizing...
No, streets ahead of you, I think is the phrase you're looking for.
Seizing the audience's attention. And
No,
anyway,
the point about what's going on behind the glass is I think the one thing you did quite rightly say is they haven't got enough to do. So what they're doing is they're inserting your hey
Yeah.
into every single song they can think of, which I think is a genius idea.
Oh, really?
And I'm rather enjoying it.
Oh,
But
yeah.
I'm sorry I
Yeah.
can't say that
Yeah.
I can take the credit for it. I wish I
Okay.
could.
Yeah, I'm not sure I'm enjoying it. I was talking to you about British Seaside Coastal
Yes,
Resort.
go on, tell me.
Right, well, Blackpool, you said.
I went to Blackpool when I was about 11, I think.
Yeah, well, it hasn't got any better. It
And I
hasn't
went
got
on
any better.
And I thought it was quite a cool place. As a kid, having never been there,
Yeah.
I went on the log flume, which I'd never been on before,
Yeah,
which is that, that sort of Big Dipper thing where you go
Yeah.
to the water at the end.
Yeah.
Saw the laughing policeman or whatever it is. That was very funny. Blackpool Pleasure Beach. But the thing that really stuck in my mind
Yes.
was going up Blackpool Tower.
Right.
And they used to have a little mini zoo there, which was horrendous.
Mini zoo? Didn't
yeah.
know that.
It was in the days when people didn't care so much about animal rights.
Right.
In fact, I might ask you about Tommy the Chimp in a minute. And see
Okay,
how your
yeah,
campaign
yeah.
is going. But there was a mandrill. You know mandrills, the monkeys with the sort of the slightly coloured faces,
Yes.
sort of blue and red and
Yes.
white. And I remember just watching it and feeling very sad because I was quite young, and this mandrill was sitting all alone in this horrible kind of cage, which appeared to have nothing else in it.
Yeah.
Just staring at people walking past him.
Yes.
And there was no toys in it for him to play with. There was nothing for him to swing on.
That's terrible.
And he looked really sad.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking, that must be the most awful
existence,
for that
yeah.
poor creature.
Poor
and ever since then,
creature,
of course,
yeah.
I've cared an awful lot about animals.
Yeah, of course you have, yeah. Well, last time I went to Blackpool, well, one of the last times, it was when the golf was at Royal Lytham St
Oh, yeah.
Anne's.
Yeah, the Open.
And so you go to Blackpool, which is nearby. It's terribly shabby.
Yeah.
And I say that, actually, with sadness, because I am
it's a wonderful sort of beach and all the rest of it, isn't
I'm
it?
a boy of the north. I love the north of England much more than I love the south of England because it's got great architecture, and we've got great piers and beaches and all that kind of stuff, and
We've got
seaside
piers in the
resorts.
south of England.
Well, you've got great piers. I agree. Brighton and places like that, Bournemouth,
Hastings.
but Hastings, yeah.
I've
But-
actually taken shares out in the rebuilding of the Hastings Pier.
have you?
Yeah.
Oh, what a strange thing to do.
Why? Well, that's about supporting your local community.
Yeah, okay. Well, I suppose. Yeah, but it's not really your local community. You just happen to live there.
Well, what's your local community then? What do you call it?
Well, somewhere where you've been based for a number of years. I mean,
Well, no, your
for
local
instance,
community is where you live.
my association with Stockbroker Belt Surrey goes back now nearly 25 years.
Stockbroker Belt Surrey doesn't actually exist.
25 years.
as a
25
place.
years. My association now with the south coast of England goes back nearly 10 years. Okay.
Wow.
Because I've become, community bound to these
So what was
locations.
the last thing you did in either of those places for the community?
I've
Apart
got-
from spraying the trees in your street to stop the dogs from peeing on them.
Well, that's a contribution.
No, it isn't.
Of
That's-
course it
that's
is.
harmful to
you
the
don't
local-
want
to the
dogs
local-
defecating
Well,
on the
that's-
pavement.
well, no, that's
It's
harmful to the local
disgusting.
dog
It's
owners.
disgusting. And if I saw a dog doing it, I'd get an air rifle
All
to
right.
it.
You take an air rifle. You're
Oh,
the man
yeah,
that's supposed to love
yeah.
animals. How is the Tommy
now-
the Chimp story going anyway?
Well, we're still fighting. We're still
Is
fighting.
he still in his cage?
He's still in his cage.
So you
but-
haven't done anything then?
Well,
What have you done exactly?
Rome wasn't.
Apart from just trying to kind of self-aggrandise
No, Rome-
the moment and try to make out to people that I'm cruel and you're kind.
Rome wasn't built in a day. Now, the last thing I did for Gosport, which is where I live there, is I volunteered to switch on this year's Christmas lights. What are you laughing at? Right?
Why would anyone want you to switch on the Christmas lights
Because-
unless you were attached to them?
No. Oh, I see. Yeah.
Why would anyone ask you to switch on the Christmas lights?
Because,
Yeah,
you
they
know-
must be desperate for celebrities.
No. It's not got a hell of a. Do you know who Gosport's most famous resident is before me?
Is it you?
No, before me.
Before you know.
Robert Knox Johnston.
What, the yachtsman?
Yeah, the single-handed
Yeah.
sailor.
Well, that makes sense, because it's a yachting community,
Yeah,
I suppose.
exactly.
Well, you don't even go on yachts. You don't go on boats.
Hang on, I'm
The
a
only thing you go on is a ferry to get to the pub.
Excuse me, I'm a
I
member.
mean, it's not exactly Che Blythe, is it?
I'm a member of 2 sailing clubs on the south coast. Okay.
I know you are, but you don't actually go sailing.
I'm a member
I
of
mean,
the-
I've actually
I'm a member-
been sailing.
I'm a member of the
I've actually crewed a yacht.
I'm a member of the Gosport Sailing Club, and
you
I'm
may
a member
be.
of another one.
Well, when was the
And,
last time you were on a sailing boat?
A sailing boat itself?
Yeah, one that actually took off and went out to sea, I mean, as opposed to just standing on one.
I went to Hamble and got on my friend's boat a few years ago.
Where?
Hamble.
Hamble, where's that?
Hamble Le Solent. It's on Solent.
Is it?
Hamble Le Rice, it's called. Hamble Le Rice. It's a very unusual name.
Hamble the Rice.
No, Hamble Le Rice on the Solent, yeah.
Well, you actually sailed there.
Hey?
You actually sailed there.
Yeah, of course I did. Got on his boat and sailed to the Isle of Wight and back.
Hmm.
When I volunteered to turn on the Christmas lights in Gosport, I was turned down in favour of a milkman.
I'm not surprised. Why
Why?
would you volunteer for something like that?
Well, because I
That's
was
embarrassing.
I was helping the community.
No, but what, do you
No.
just ring them up and say, my name's Porky Parry from Talk
No,
Sport.
no,
I'd like
no.
to light the Christmas
No,
lights.
no, I have a great association with the local newspaper. They told me they were on
Yeah,
the
you used to
search.
write a column for the Gosport
Yeah.
Bugle, didn't you?
The Portsmouth News.
Yeah. Do you still write that?
No,
Why not?
I didn't have time.
Did they fire you?
No. Of course, they didn't fire me. I mean, in fact, I never took a payment for it. I sent all the money to a children's home for
Really?
the column. Yes, and I was a bit disappointed actually.
They must be terribly sad that you gave it up then.
Yeah, well, they are, but I was a bit disappointed that
Do
when
you
I
still send them money anyway?
no, because
Why
when
not?
because I'm telling you, when I gave it up, I wrote to them and said, "Hi, I'm giving up the column, so awfully sorry now that you won't get the weekly fee for it, but I hope that over the years I've been able to help." I never even got a reply. Their attitude was, "Well, you should still be writing the column and sending us money."
Well, that's what charities are like.
Yeah, but hang on.
You've let them down.
I'd been doing it for the past 5 years or something like that, and I thought I was rather churlish of them.
So, as a result, I still want to know how exactly
Yes.
it worked. So, how did you get in touch with the Gosport authorities to say that you wanted to do it? Did you write in your column that you
Paper
wanted
rings
to do
me
it?
up all the time, asking me about things and
Really?
all that kind of stuff.
When was
I
the
can
last
hear a
time they
buzzing
rang
noise,
you
Ellie.
up?
What's this buzzing noise I can hear?
Buzzing noise?
Yeah, buzzing noise.
I mean, maybe it's your phone.
I think it is my phone because it's knackered because of the hacker who hacked my phone.
Actually, yeah, we're supposed to be talking. It's not
Yeah.
the hacker,
Yeah.
as in the Maori
No,
hacker.
no. The guy
The other
who
hacker.
hacked my... what happened was... oh, excuse me. Got a bit of a sinus problem. What happened was that I got this message from Microsoft saying that we're shutting down your exit and entry points on your laptop.
Sounds painful.
It does. See, can you hear that buzzing noise?
No,
can.
I can't hear anything.
Anyway,
You sure it's not
It-
just in
it's-
your head?
no, I haven't got tinnitus or anything like that. And they said because somebody's been trying to log into your system from 4 or 5 different unexplained places.
Right.
Anyway, it turned out that somebody had been, so they shut it down. So that meant they had to change the password. So our very able guy downstairs here in our IT office...
They must be getting tired of you ringing them up all the time.
Yeah, well, I think they should be. Yeah, they would be. And he fixed it all for me. But then, unfortunately, I don't know how to change the password on my phone. So all the emails that are coming in and I'm trying to send out are not going. So what happens is the phone just buzzes all. And,
The phone just buzzes.
it just buzzes, and I keep thinking somebody's ringing me up, and
Well,
I
why
keep
can't you get somebody to fix that?
no, and I keep opening it and holding it to my ear and going hello, 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 but there's nobody there because it's. In fact, I tell you what's happened now.
What's it doing now?
The battery's completely run out, and there's no life in this phone. I mean, I do get fed up with these batteries. These batteries run out now after a few
Well,
hours.
it's probably running out quicker because it's constantly trying to send something.
I
and
think
it's
it
not
is.
Actually,
I think that's a
and
very
it's not
good
doing
point.
anything.
I think that's a very good point. Anyway, I'm getting it sorted tomorrow, so that's all right, isn't it?
Well, we've got a guest coming up who's going to be able to
Okay.
help you, Robert Siciliano,
Excellent.
who's a personal security and identity theft expert.
Good.
Because this is happening to you more often than it should happen to you.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, everybody has a problem once in a while. But let's find
Yeah.
out from him perhaps what he can do to fix it.
Hmm.
A couple of other scenarios here. Here's one from David in Purley. He says,
Right.
morning two, Mikes. Parry says his cleaning lady is good on computers.
Hmm.
He also said he's got a picture of himself with Joan Collins. Is his cleaning lady good on Photoshop too?
No.
He's suggesting
No,
that, that
look,
she could put that picture.
I-
you keep talking about it. You've never brought it.
Oh, well, that's because I have no wish or desire to boast about my associations with famous actresses, OK? Why should I?
You don't want to boast?
I don't need to.
You spend the entire 5 hours
I don't need
boasting.
to. I don't need to.
You boasted that at your school, Bill Shankly regularly popped in. You boasted that, when we were talking to somebody about a terrible thing happening in America, you started boasting about how you used to go to the White House. I mean, it's just shocking. Anyway, let's talk to this guy, Robert Siciliano, who's an expert in identity theft. Robert, a very good morning to you.
Good morning to you.
Thanks very much for joining us. Mike Parry's had a problem that a lot of people have had. He's had his email hacked into, and he got this message from Microsoft saying that they were going to shut down. What was it they called it?
The input and output of my emails.
Right. And it's affected his phone. It's affected his laptop.
Yeah.
It keeps happening to him. What can he do?
Well, there's a good chance that he might have malware, like malicious software, spyware, which is a program on your device, probably your laptop, that allows a bad guy to get your usernames and passwords. It allows them to spy on what you do. So what I'd probably suggest you do at this point, if it keeps happening to you, then I would back up all your data. Back up all of your contacts on your phone. Back up all of your data on your laptop. Get an external hard drive. An external hard drive where you can back up all that data, and then reinstall all your operating systems. Get all of your software that
just
came
start
with the
again,
devices.
in other words. But I mean, the problem is for Mike and lots of other people is they don't know how to do that themselves.
No,
so
I've
they
no
have to
idea.
get somebody else to do it. And in the end, what you're saying is you have to just basically assume that everything could be lost, and you just have to reboot everything.
Well, if you back up your data, you won't lose anything.
Right.
But so you'll have all of your information. But then you have to consider that you probably have some type of a virus on your device.
But how do you get? How do they get in? Because there seems to be more and more of this happening. It's happened to quite a few colleagues of ours here at Talk Sport. Individuals' email is now being kind of tampered with. It seems more than it's ever been.
Yeah, once they get a hold of your email, they own you. So you don't want that to happen. You want to change your passwords for your email. You want to change your passwords for your most critical accounts. But before you do that, I'm telling you, like cleaning out your machine and reinstalling the operating system, just find yourself a 14-year-old and they'll take care of it for you.
Yeah, they probably will. Why did the message from Microsoft, Robert, say to me, and how does this work? We've detected, within the last 3 minutes that somebody's been trying to hack into your system from 4 or 5 different locations to which you've never been to. I mean, that's an incredibly sophisticated way of picking up that something's wrong, isn't it?
Yeah. Do you have a newer laptop or an older one?
I don't know, 2 or 3 years.
Yeah. And are you using Microsoft Essentials for antivirus?
Oh, I don't know. No idea.
Yeah.
That's part of the problem.
These are things that you want to know.
Yeah. Yeah, sure.
It's good to know about that stuff. Like you kind of have to have a bit of a handle on the security of your stuff, because if you don't know what's going on, it's like if you get behind the wheel of a car and you don't know how to drive it, you're going to crash it.
Sure, but we've always taken it for granted in our generation.
Robert, listen, we've got to leave it there. Terribly sorry. Thanks for joining us, Robert Siciliano. I mean, funnily enough, it's a bit like we talked last week about your gate on the front of your flat.
Yes,
it's a bit like not having a front door.
Of course it is.
If you don't have protection.
Of course it is. Absolutely. We need to know about these things.
Every time we talk about this, he puts his hands over his face.
I do,
and he rubs his face in complete.
But I'm going to get an expert in to sort it.
Exasperation.
I'm going to pay an expert a load of money to get it sorted. Yeah, okay, definitely.
So. Mike Porky Parry.
It's my answer to a lot of problems in life.
Yeah, he just pays somebody.
Get out the dosh.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Unbelievable. What a snob he is. This is Talk Sport.
Hey!
Out there in the cold, getting lonely, getting old, can you feel me?
Hey!
You, standing in the aisles with itchy feet and fainting smiles, can you feel me?
Hey!
Don't help them to
What are you laughing at?
That's brilliant.
What are you laughing at?
Pink Floyd you're in now. You should be grateful that all of this music is being added to your voice.
But I mean, it's absurd. This, I made one hey for a hacker that you asked me to do.
Well,
now inserted into records all over the world.
It's nothing to do
What's
with
going
me.
on?
This is something that they're doing behind
Excuse
the
me,
glass.
what is going on? What is going on?
You should be considering your privilege. Now, here's one of those nice warm messages that you've been asking for, coming in from Scotland. It's from Willie in Motherwell.
Right.
He
Hello,
says,
Willie.
Can you tell the bloated Welsh balloon to stop talking like a constipated stockbroker belt tube? His drivel has reached new heights tonight. King Kenny Rogers? Question mark. Do you remember calling him King Kenny Rogers?
Well, listen, I was quoting somebody else. I was quoting the fact that somebody said, "Oh, there's King Kenny," and the Rogers bit just slipped on the end of it.
I know. Mark in Southend says, Mr. Graham, Parry's local community is Chester, or has he forgotten that? P.S. How can he sail a boat with those short arms?
Oh, it's easy, because you hold the steering wheel. And anyway, I haven't got short arms. And I was out with Mr. Brazil this evening, or yesterday evening, and he's the one who first sort of told the world I had short arms.
And it's stuck, unfortunately.
Oh, yeah, horribly erroneous. I've got something to tell you, which is amazing.
Go on.
Absolutely amazing, right? Did you know that if you lost your key fob, like every car these days has a clicker on it, doesn't it, to open and close the doors?
It does.
And some of them are called keyless because you don't even have to activate it. It activates itself when you get near the car. But the ones that you actually press yourself, right? How about this? If you lost your car keys 20 miles from home, you could ring up your wife.
If you had one.
If you had one,
You couldn't, could you?
No, I couldn't, because I haven't got one. No.
You could ring up your housekeeper.
I could ring up my housekeeper.
If she was in between booking tickets for you on the train and cleaning the house.
Yeah, I'd probably do that. I probably would ring her up.
And getting stuff out of the loft.
And if I did, I'd say, could you go and get my spare key? I'll tell you where it is. It's in that drawer. I said, right, that's very good. Now, click it down the phone, please. And I would hold my phone next to my car, and that would open the locks.
Really?
Yeah, from anywhere in the world.
Doesn't that mean it would start to become easier to steal cars, though?
Why?
Well, if somebody was able to copy the key and do it remotely from wherever.
No, it's not a question of copying the key. It's a question of...
Well, what if they recorded the sound, though? What if somebody just, say, for example, picked up your key as you had it at the table at a pub, surreptitiously, clicked it into a recording device like your phone, so that the click was audible, and then just kept that, and then they just go to your car and use it, and open the car.
The problem with that is that people don't leave their car keys lying around.
Well,
They're usually in their pocket. No, they're usually in their pocket. Secondly...
Or you could just record it while you were doing it yourself.
How would the evil thief know which one was your car outside and where it was parked?
Well, they could do what they always do when they pick up somebody's keys and just go around clicking and seeing which one it opens.
Well, yeah.
See, I think what you've just done there is you've
No, I haven't.
By accident, you've uncovered a new way to steal people's cars.
I haven't. That's rubbish. What I'm saying is, how many times has there been a situation where, oh, God damn it, I've lost my car keys? You then have to get a taxi home to get the spare set, taxi back. You don't have to do that anymore. Because of the clicker effect, you can do it down a phone. You can definitely...
Yeah, but I think that's...
And you could do it from Australia. If you're in Australia...
That's a security problem.
No, it's not. It's not a security problem at all. Why is it a security problem?
Well, I've just explained it to
No,
you.
you didn't explain anything.
Somebody could record the click.
What you told me was a load of, garbage.
No, I didn't. I said somebody could record the click and use it to open your car.
No, they couldn't, because it's not the click. It's not the click.
What is it then?
It's the...
You haven't explained it properly.
It's the combination of radio frequency of that signal going from your key fob to your car. But
well, I'd like to see you doing it.
But I could do it tomorrow. I could do it today. I could do it now.
No, you can't.
And it's the combination of the electronical pulse.
You can't send an electronic pulse down an audible phone line.
Yes, you can.
No, you can't.
Yes, you can. You can.
I don't think
it can be done. It can be done.
Well, I'll tell you what can be done. We're going to talk to Bruce Richardson now because he's a tea expert. We've been keeping him waiting. He's very, very rude. He's the owner of Elmwood Fine Teas.
Oh, lovely.
Because you were telling me earlier in the week that you've discovered that tea is a vital component of life.
Absolutely vital.
Well, let's listen to Bruce and see if he agrees. Bruce, a very good morning to you. Sorry to keep you waiting.
Oh, hi guys! It's still in the evening here.
Excellent. So you could still be drinking. Are you drinking a cup of tea as we speak?
Exactly. I'm here in Santa Fe, New Mexico tonight.
Oh, beautiful!
Santa Fe,
I love New Mexico. What a fantastic place!
It is.
Now, Mr. Parry, tell Bruce about your theory about tea.
Well, it's not theory. It's just that tea is so important to the English people. I mean, thing is, Bruce, so few people drink tea in the United States of America that you don't actually have electric kettles because you don't need them because you've got coffee percolating machines. But
is that true, Bruce?
Well, it's growing like crazy though here in the United States.
Is it?
Gourmet tea sales have quadrupled
Okay.
Just in the past 10
All right.
years. It's huge.
Okay.
It's huge.
Okay. Well, let me tell you something that's really interesting to you, Bruce, as a tea fanatic, right? There's a fella called Thomas Sullivan. He was a New York tea merchant, okay?
Right.
And in 1908, he decided to send out samples of his tea to prospective customers. And he put them in little linseed bags, okay? Guess what? The people who received them thought it was a new invention called the tea bag, so they used it as a tea bag. That's how the tea bag was invented.
Really?
But it wasn't a tea bag. It wasn't.
I don't think Bruce is.
Is Bruce laughing at that, or
I'm
is
not
that...
sure if he's laughing or if he's maybe he's trying to transmit his car key fob down the
Yeah,
line.
maybe he is.
It
Yeah,
sounds like.
yeah, maybe
we
he is.
lost him.
Maybe-
Oh, you've so bored him with your story that he's just decided to
no,
hang
it
up.
wasn't. No, it wasn't. That's a great story.
It's not a great story
It
at
is.
all.
It's a great
I
story.
thought you were going to talk about why it's the elixir of life.
Well, it is the elixir of life. We all know it's the
I'm not
elixir of
interested
life.
in anything about some bloke from the 19th century.
No, of course you are. What I'm saying is that doctors and researchers now have put down regular input of tea each day to being a calming and balming and restorative aspect of your all-round health.
Is it not very high in caffeine, though?
No.
What do you mean, no?
Caffeine's in coffee.
No, there's more caffeine in tea than there is in coffee.
No, there isn't.
Yes, there is.
No, there isn't. There's a bit of caffeine in tea. That's what gives it its brown appearance.
Yeah.
But it is not as caffeined up
Well, I think you'll find
as
that
coffee.
there is as much caffeine
Rubbish.
in tea as there
So
is in
why
coffee.
do
If
people
not more.
why do people then drink coffee and black coffee and all that kind of stuff? Try and stay awake
Because they think
And-
yeah.
yeah.
it will do so. But actually, there's still a lot of caffeine in tea.
Oh, I don't-
No, there's caffeine in Red Bull. We got Bruce back. But
Okay.
now, can you please say to him, Bruce? Sorry
Yes,
about that. Can
yes.
you please say to him what it is that you think is the reason why tea is the elixir of life in about 30 seconds?
Who? Sorry,
Well,
me
because
told Bruce, or Bruce told me.
Well, Bruce hasn't heard what you just
Oh, well.
said.
Yeah. What I said, Bruce, there was that medical research now shows that tea, as an essential part of your diet, is responsible for a lot of restorative properties in every area of your physical life. Your joints, your limbs, your brain, they all benefit from ingestion of tea at least 6 times a day.
That's right. But it's not a magic bullet, but it certainly is a part of a healthy lifestyle.
Yeah.
So it will help you. It will help you lose a little bit of weight.
Yeah.
It will restore your body, and it rehydrates you. So and it keeps you alert.
What
with
about
caffeine.
what about the caffeine levels, though? That's the problem, isn't it, Bruce? There's an awful lot of caffeine in tea. You
No,
can't drink
it's
too
not.
much of
It's
it.
It's not a problem because it's only a third of what coffee has. You're
Exactly.
looking at maybe 50,
No, I think there's more. No,
50
there's more.
or 60 milligrams of caffeine.
No, that depends on the tea, though, doesn't it? I
Don't
mean,
be
you're talking about
ridiculous.
gourmet teas. I'm talking about basic tea, which is just plain leaf
Yeah.
tea, has more caffeine than coffee
Yep.
does.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't.
No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't.
does.
No, it doesn't.
Once you steep it, it has maybe 50 to 60 milligrams of caffeine, and a tall cup of coffee will have 150 milligrams.
Yeah, you're absolutely
Right.
right.
You see,
Don't-
you're comparing apples and pears.
No,
you see.
don't listen to him, Bruce. Bruce, I'll give you a fascinating fact. The first ever tea break took place in China in 273 BC. And, no,
He said, font of useless information, Bruce. I can't help you with that, sorry.
the emperor was a guy called Shen Nung, right? And he was travelling with his army to a far-flung province which he was going to conquer.
Where are you reading this from?
I'm not reading it from anywhere. It's the research I've done on tea. And what happened was the soldiers were absolutely exhausted and knackered, so they said, we're not going any further until we get a cup of tea. Seriously. And you know, tea,
We're out of time. Look at the time.
originated in China,
Yeah, we
so
know
that
that.
must be true. That
Yeah.
must be true.
Why don't you take a slow boat there? We've got to do the news. Bruce, thank you very
Well,
much
you
indeed. Bruce
push off.
Richardson. Got a text here from Robert in Belfast,
Yes,
Mr. Barry,
Robert
who
in
says,
Belfast.
quite rightly, as I said to you earlier, if you take the exact same dosage of tea or coffee, tea has more caffeine in it. So I rest my case.
Well, who says that?
Robert in Belfast.
What's he know about it?
Well,
What-
because
some
that
sort of
so-called
is he-
tea expert
some
that you
sort of-
organised for the show earlier,
Some sort
he
of
didn't
tea
know,
expert,
didn't know
is
what
he?
he was talking about, because actually he said a large coffee versus one of those, sort of gourmet teas. In America, they don't drink proper tea. They drink sort of, orange tea, and they drink peppermint tea.
yeah, all that
and they drink
rubbish,
green
yeah.
tea. Now, that
Yeah.
doesn't have as much caffeine, but ordinary kind of regular tea bag tea or leaf tea has more caffeine
Not-
if you have exactly the same measurement.
Not in my knowledge. Not to my
Well,
knowledge.
that
Not to my
doesn't surprise
knowledge.
me that you don't know anything
No,
about
no,
it.
no. You don't know anything about it. And some guy from Ireland who claims to be a tea expert, they don't drink long.
Ireland?
You said Ireland.
He was
Belfast.
from Canada.
Oh, Canada. I thought you said Belfast.
Oh, no, Robert's in Belfast.
That's
yeah.
what I mean, Robert's
well,
in
they know more
Belfast,
about
yeah.
tea in Belfast than they do in Canada.
No, I'm not sure they do. Not a lot of people drink tea in Belfast, or Northern Ireland.
What do you know about that?
Well, I used to live there.
Yeah, you think, what do they all drink? Cappuccino now or something?
Yeah, probably.
Really?
They drink a lot of Guinness and stuff.
They drink a lot of tea in Northern Ireland, trust me.
That's what the Irish
Mike
do.
in Glasgow says this. Porky, you're always welcome to Glasgow. There's a great big light in Sucky Hall Street so that you can stare into it. Nay bother. Loving the show. Now, talking of Glasgow, Del Strain, our friend, the comedian, has just driven over the border into
excellent.
Scotland. He's got some news for you. Del, a very good morning to you, mate.
How are you doing? By the way, thanks a lot. I thought I was Cocoa Pops, by the way, but his head's full of Batman comics. Do you know, I just crossed the border, and it's torrential rain here, but there's nothing but effigies of Mike Parry burning. Effigies of him from Ayrshire all the way up to Glasgow. And the leaky grinder that he is, he's unbelievable. He really, really is. Honestly, I don't think he listens to himself. He's bonkers.
Yeah.
Well, nobody else listens to him either, Del. That's the point.
Well, the thing is, Del, you don't have a typical view of me as a Scotsman, to be honest. It's rather warped by the fact that, you seem to think we're in competition with you, to inform, to seek justice and truth, and, of course, we're not.
How are you going to find justice and truth in the first class when you're getting paid expenses to go here, there and everywhere? You make it sound like you're having the time of your life, but I'd like to know, that Scottish expression about short arms actually means you've got deep pockets.
Yeah, well, I haven't.
And that's exactly what Alan Brazil actually meant.
No, he didn't.
That's what he did mean. No, you've said this before. He didn't mean that you've anatomically got short arms. He meant that you actually don't ever buy a round.
No, he didn't, because I always buy the first round everywhere I go. And I usually buy the last round
I'm not
as
saying
well.
it's not true.
Yeah. But no, Al made out that I've short arms because he reckons that, I wasn't very good at bowling, at cricket and all that kind of stuff.
I don't think
because of my
so.
short arms. And anyway, Del, that's all irrelevant. The vast majority of your countrymen will welcome me with open arms should I come north of the border with old MG here and we do a live stage show. Because...
Yeah, maybe Mike, but if you come up here after what you just done tonight, I would advise you to bring the Peaky Blinders hat and put some razor blades in the brim.
Well, you're talking about violence here. I've got a lot of very influential Scottish friends. Mr. Brazil, Andy Gray...
that's it.
Gordon Brown. Gordon Brown.
That's not going to help you up there.
As an associate. So I don't have any fears about it or any problems. Also, I've got
I tell you what, great show, lads. Great show, right? I've just pulled in at Strathaven. You've missed the Ramones. You've got to do him doing the Ramones. Hey ho, let's go.
Yeah, we've got to do that. Hey ho, let's go. It's got to be done. The Ramones, a great suggestion from Del. There, you probably don't know that song, do you?
I could not understand a word that man
I
was
know
saying.
you can't. I can't believe you think you're friends with Gordon Brown. I suppose you got a picture of yourself with him as well.
I have, actually.
I had tea with Gordon Brown, you know.
Oh, did you? Good for you.
Where did you see him?
In the boardroom here at Talk Sport.
Oh, so he came here?
Yeah, he came here.
Oh, right. It's not quite the same then. He actually invited me for tea.
Oh, did he?
Yeah. When I was editor of the Scottish Mirror.
Yeah, okay. And
problem was, the day that he invited me to tea was the day of a rather sort of massive event in London, which was an unexpected sort of, terrorist event.
Oh, right,
Which I don't want to go into. So it wasn't exactly the best day to meet him. But I sat in the Treasury office with him while it was all going on. It was fascinating.
Now,
talking of which, see the stories about old Ed Miliband this morning.
Well,
we talked about last week how Scottish Labour is now in complete disarray.
It looks terrible.
It would seem
for him.
as though he's in a worse place than Manuel Pellegrini.
People are going around plotting to oust him out as leader and all this kind of stuff. It's unbelievable.
He's like a guy who everybody knows is useless, but he doesn't realise himself. We've all worked in these situations where there's somebody either at the top of the organisation or somewhere off to the side of it.
That's right.
And they think they're doing a great job, but everybody else around them realises actually they're useless.
They are useless. Now, you see this very studio we're in here?
This one here, yeah.
You're in that seat here. I'm in this seat here. Guess who was sitting in this seat here?
Jake Robson was sitting in that seat.
No influential politicians. David Cameron.
Yeah.
Now, David Cameron at the time was leader of the opposition.
Ah, yes.
And it was the second time he came in, and Andy Townsend and I, debated.
I've not met
him.
Cameron. What did you make of him?
Well, this is the point. First of all, excuse me, he has no sporting instincts whatsoever.
No. Claims to be an Aston Villa fan, doesn't he?
Well, exactly. But he's walking around outside carrying a TalkSport cup around and said, I've always got time for TalkSport. I mean, you could see palpably he would have hoped to have been anywhere else in the world except in this building.
Well, most
and this
politicians,
studio.
you have to say the same
that's right,
thing, wouldn't
That's
you?
right, yeah. But he came in and he said, I've always got time for TalkSport, like he was one of the boys and all that kind of stuff. And then I knew within sort of 90 seconds that he was a typical politician who was completely consumed by the Westminster bubble, as we call it. You know, that is, they don't get any further than a mile from the Houses of Commons.
Right.
And had no idea.
And also the road that they've taken to get there has meant that they have very little in common with most ordinary people.
Yeah, and one of the issues, I spoke to Dave Cameron, I said, people are very, very worried about immigration in this country. And he didn't think they were at the time.
Right. He does now.
Exactly. He's changed his tune now. But he actually... I actually said no. I said it's a real worry for people whose communities are being, unbelievably transformed.
Although we had that thing the other day, didn't we? That report that said that actually immigration has been a boon to the economy in much more ways than anybody
There's
ever
always
thought.
conflicting reports. One says it's a boon, the other one says it's cost us £4 billion quid.
Well, the boon is EU immigration, and the cost has been outside of the EU. But you're right. Front page of Daily Mail. We'll talk about these later on with Sandy. Bonfire night plot to oust Ed. Labour in crisis as MPs hold secret meeting and demand axe him or will lose the election.
Amazing.
Which sounds about right.
It is absolutely amazing.
Now, that's enough politicians, though. Let's talk about Sherlock Holmes.
Sherlock Holmes could have been real.
Now, Sherlock Holmes is a show. You're not going to spoil the ending of that for us, are you?
Sherlock Holmes?
Sherlock Holmes was a show as well, wasn't it? It's a TV show. They've made a movie out of it.
Sherlock Holmes has been represented by half a dozen different great actors.
I know that.
Over the years.
But there's also a recent television show, hasn't there, been Sherlock?
Sherlock?
Hasn't there?
No, not that I know of.
Benedict Cumberbatch was in the movie, wasn't he?
Yeah, but that was made by Guy Ritchie.
No, he was in the TV show. Benedict Cumberbatch was in the TV show.
Was he?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Well, thank God you don't know about it, because you can't ruin the ending.
Anyway, point of the story is that a new historical insight into it, Sherlock Holmes could have been real. But he
wasn't real.
Well, he could have been, and he could have been a secret agent. Therefore, it was all hushed up, and he was made out to be a fictional character. But in fact, he might have been real.
Did he really live in Baker Street then?
Well, apparently, yeah. Apparently, he did. Apparently, lived in Baker Street. It could have been real. People think that certainly Moriarty was real. You know, his nemesis. Moriarty, that's right.
Not
yeah.
Moriarty.
Moriarty, yeah, the same guy.
Doesn't rhyme with variety.
His nemesis was real. And
he was like a Bond villain, wasn't he, Moriarty?
He was like a Bond villain. And he died in a... Moriarty died after going... Moriarty died after going over the falls, didn't he?
That's right.
Although
was there not ever a question about whether they ever found the body?
Well, exactly. This is about it, you see. Now, they reckon Moriarty...
Can you not say Moriarty?
Moriarty. It's Moriarty.
It's not Italian. Moriarty. Sounds like midfielder for AC Milan.
Was a definite villain, right? And Sherlock Holmes was on his trail all the time and all that. But they hushed up...
He was a cocaine addict as well, wasn't he, Sherlock Holmes?
Not to my knowledge.
Yeah, he was.
No.
Yeah, he was. He used to shoot up.
Don't be ridiculous.
He did.
You're mad.
And I'm talking. If you have to read the books by Arthur Conan Doyle.
Don't be. Anyway, Moriarty died. Moriarty died at the Rackenbach Falls in Switzerland. Okay.
Right.
And
Rackenbach. It sounds like some form of breakfast.
Rackenbach. That's right. Yeah, the Rackenbach. And so they got him. They got Moriarty, and he died. And then they hushed up the existence of Sherlock Holmes, who was a true life secret agent, to say that he never existed. And Conan Doyle was happy to go along with the idea that this was all fictional, if he could write the books and all that kind of stuff. So it's a bit like James Bond, really.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, James Bond-type characters do exist.
Well, he was very suave, wasn't he?
Who?
Conan Doyle's character.
Yes, he was,
Sherlock Holmes.
Yeah,
but you wonder as well whether when you see the old movies like with Basil Rathbone, who used to play him, whether in fact he was more kind of glamorised than... Because the book actually had him as a much more flawed character. That's what I'm saying. He had a drug habit, you know, he was a bit of a strange loner, you know, he had this weird friend called Dr. Watson.
Yeah, well, and Dr. Watson had sort of different war wounds in different books. One he had a foot wound, and the one had a hip wound, and all that kind of stuff. But the point is, with the Sherlock Holmes stuff, is that was to cover up bad government behaviour, you see what I mean? If you appoint assassins, then you never admit to it. And that's what they think Sherlock Holmes might have been.
Interesting. Well, elementary, my dear Watson, as they would say. Mike Porky Parry and myself, Mike Graham, we are the two Mikes. We'll be back with more coming next.
I've been to Louisville, Nashville, Knoxville, Omaha, Shefferville, Jacksonville, Waterville, Costa Rica, Pittsfield, Springfield, Bakersfield, Shreveport, Hackensack, Cadillac, Fond du Lac, Davenport, Idaho, Jellicoe, Argentina, Diamantina, Pasadena, Catalina, see what I mean? I've been everywhere, man. I've been everywhere, man.
Mr. Mike Porky Parry has, of course, been everywhere, man.
I have, yeah.
Astonishingly, you've been everywhere, so you've got a great knowledge of the geography of the world.
Pretty
And
good,
so
I would say.
That's why, on this particular occasion,
Pretty good.
we've chosen your quiz subject for the week to be the geography of the world.
But, I mean, you didn't tell me this. You didn't give me any
Well, of
warning
course
on
I
this.
didn't. Why should I give you warning?
Well, because, you know, usually when people have been given a quiz on some specific subject, they'd like to just refresh their memories on the details of
I
that
can't
subject.
imagine why you would
and
need to.
I've had no... Well, because, although I've been everywhere, man,
Yeah.
some of the places I've been, man, were like...
quite a long time ago.
Exactly,
man.
exactly.
Well, it's not about where
and
you've
so-
been. I'm not going to be asking you what's
Yeah.
the name of the street where you had
Yeah.
coffee while
Yeah.
you were covering the Rugby World Cup in France.
Right,
I'm not
okay.
going to be asking you that.
Yeah.
I'm going to be asking you general knowledge questions
It's
about
actually
geography.
the answer to that one is the Champs-Elysees, because that's where I stayed.
Champs-Élysées.
Yeah, the Champs.
Champs-Élysées.
No, Champs.
You don't say Champs. You say
I
Champs.
do.
Well, you might say that.
Listen, mate, I prowled them down
You
that
also
street
say
for a month.
misogynist. Doesn't make it right.
No, don't be silly. Anyway, that's the answer to that question.
Anyway,
yes.
I'm not asking you that question. We need to get on with the quiz because we're
Let's
running
get
out
on
of
with it.
time.
Let's get on
now,
with it.
as ever, the quiz has been compiled by independent quiz masters.
Yeah, you.
I've got nothing to do with these quiz questions. If you get one right, in the unlikely event of that, you will hear this sound.
Was that River
I've
Deep
no
Mountain
idea
High?
what that is. What is that?
River Deep Mountain High.
Oh, it's a very bad recording of River Deep Mountain
Yeah.
High. Now, if you get one wrong, you will hear this.
Simple Minds.
It's not Simple Minds, it's Talking Heads.
Talking Heads, that's the one. Yeah.
You said that earlier. Now,
Yeah.
Question number one. How many countries are there in Africa? Very straightforward.
A ludicrous question.
How is it ludicrous?
Because there's more countries in Africa now than there were 20 years ago.
Well,
Because
I'm
they've
not
all
asking you
split
how
up.
many there were 20 years ago. I'm asking you how many there are now.
There's 37 countries in Africa. What are you laughing at?
Incorrect.
What's the
It's
answer?
54.
There's never 54 countries in Africa. Which bit of Africa?
The whole continent.
Does that include Madagascar?
It includes 6 islands, funnily enough.
I was going to say, yeah. So
Yeah.
I didn't count them in.
Well, that would still only give you 43.
Well, you
Still
should
been wrong.
you should have said the continent of Africa and its islands. That's what you should have said.
Never mind.
Another stupid question.
0 out of 1. Okay, question number 2.
Hmm.
What percentage of the Earth's land does Asia cover?
Percentage of the Earth's land.
Now, you can either give me the answer from 20 years ago or the answer from now. It's up to you.
Now, are you saying what percentage of the Earth does Asia cover?
No, that's not what the question said.
What does it say?
The question said, what percentage of the Earth's land does Asia cover?
Okay, the
Which
answer
is not the same thing.
to that is 27%.
Incorrect. The correct answer is 30%.
Well, that's close enough. That's a 10% either way. What are you laughing at?
That's not right.
It is right.
I'm not giving
It
you
is
that.
right. I can't possibly be completely accurate on that.
Why not?
Because it's shrunk and expanded over the last 25 years, and 27% is
wrong.
is 1/10 away
wrong.
from what you say is the answer.
It's pathetic.
You numbskull.
Well, if someone's 27 years of age and you say they're 30, it's not right, is it?
Rubbish. I think that was a brilliant answer on my behalf because I worked
All
it
right.
out in my head immediately.
All right, well, let's see how you get on with question number 3.
Hmm.
So far, 0 out of 2. When did Australia become a nation?
When did Australia become a nation?
Yeah.
What do you mean, when did it become a nation?
Well,
When
it's a bit
Captain
straight-
Cook discovered it, I suppose.
No. When did it become Australia?
Right, when did it become... It became Australia in... No, when was Ned Kelly rampaging around? It was in... Now, America was in 1777. So... I
Well,
reckon...
it wasn't the Declaration of Independence 1776?
Yes, but it wasn't until the following year they ratified it. Now, let me think.
I have to hurry you.
Right, okay. Australia, 1823.
Incorrect. 1901. Wrong century.
1901?
Yeah, 1901.
Don't be
That was
ridiculous.
when the Commonwealth of Australia was established.
Oh, lots of nonsense. That's
Question
garbage.
number 4.
Drivel.
Now, you've upset some people in Ireland tonight as well as in Scotland. So, question number 4. What is the population of the Republic of Ireland?
The Republic of Ireland, there are 1 million people in Northern Ireland, in the 6 counties, the 9 counties of Ulster, and a further 4 million people in Eire.
Incorrect. 4.5 million.
Well, that's right. That's right
is it
then.
right?
4's right.
500,000 people's quite a few to miss out on.
Rubbish. The thing is that the birth rate in Ireland expands so rapidly that will have been the extra 500,000. That will have been the extra 500,000.
So 500,000 people were born yesterday.
No, since the last census. That's right. Yeah, I'm claiming
the
that
last
one.
one you know about.
No, I'm claiming that one. Well,
I'll tell you what. I'll give you half a point then for that. I'll give you half a point out of 4.
Rubbish.
Number 5. What languages are spoken in Kenya?
In Kenya?
Yeah.
One of the languages is called... how many languages are you looking for?
Looking for 2.
Right, one is Mau Mau, right? That's a native dialect.
No.
And the other one in Kenya is... Swahili.
Swahili is correct.
Swahili.
But
See?
you've got to get one more to get it correct.
Swahili, Mau Mau...
Mau Mau isn't a language.
No, it is. The locals speak it. Locals speak it. They do.
They speak Swahili.
And English.
English, correct.
They do.
It's the first one he's got right.
Fantastic.
1.5 points out of 5. Well done.
Fantastic.
So you're on track to get 3 out of 10. Question number 6. Which is bigger, Sweden or Denmark?
I tell you now, it's the biggest.
Why are you speaking Dutch?
No, it's Scandinavian. Yeah. I say he's Sweden.
Correct.
Oh, hey.
So you got 2.5 out of 6. Question number 7. How
better.
far is it from Bristol to Nottingham?
Bristol to Nottingham is exactly, because Nottingham's in the East Midlands, Bristol's in the West Country, capital of the West Country, up the M5, round the bottom of the M42.
You go from the M5 to the M4, would you? From Bristol?
No, from the M5 to the M42.
Okay.
Right, got it?
Yeah.
Thickhead. Round the M42, up the A1. I say it is 172 miles.
Incorrect. 142 miles.
That's very close.
Not close enough.
Very close.
30 miles out. If you were a postman, you'd be sacked. Question number 8.
It depends on which part of Bristol you're talking about.
This is my favourite question of the night. Which is further south, Perth or Buenos Aires?
Buenos Aires. That's rubbish. Buenos Aires right in the south of South America.
And where is Perth?
Perth's on the west coast of Australia.
I think you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right. By 3 degrees, though. It's not that obvious.
Well, hang on. Why have I got the old rejection music then?
Because you got it wrong.
No, I didn't get it wrong. You just said I got it right.
Yeah, I think you did get it right.
Yeah, well, I got it right. So tell those
wrong.
numpties behind the glass to, sort it out.
Yeah, I know.
So I'm having a point for that, right?
Yeah, you get a point for that. Question number
Excellent.
9. What is the capital of Kosovo?
Kosovo. Capital. Kosovo. I reckon it is... Kosovo City.
It's not Kosovo City.
What is it then?
Pristina.
What?
Pristina.
Yeah, but that's only been the capital for about 18 months.
Well, it's still the capital.
Nah, it's rubbish.
More than 18 months.
It's not registered with the United Nations yet, so that's a bum question.
You've got 3.5 right.
No, I haven't. I've got 4.5 right.
No, you've got 3.5
No,
right.
I haven't. No, you can't even count.
You've got Sweden, you've got
You're a
English,
thickhead.
you've got English and Swahili, you've got Buenos Aires, 3, and then you've got half a point for the Republic of Ireland. Finally, number 10. You should get this one. What is the largest ocean in the world?
The Pacific.
Correct. So I'm going to now take the half point off you that you got because I was feeling sorry for you. So I'm going to give you 5 out of 10, which I think is a pretty good score for you.
5 plus out of 10.
5 out of 10. It's not bad at all.
That's bloody marvellous.
We're going to come up with something else.
Considering there's so many stupid questions.
They were very,
how many
very
countries in Africa?
Very intelligent questions. Well, now you know the answer, don't you?
Could have asked me things, like what is the most popular tree in the world? Could have asked me that.
Well, that's not geography. That's botany.
It's geological.
It's not geological.
You could have.
Well, would you like a question on botany?
No, thank you. No. Could
You're
have
an
asked.
expert on trees?
No, I'm not an expert on trees. No.
What is the most popular tree in the world, anyway?
The fir tree.
Is it? When you say popular, do you mean the one that most people own?
No,
the one that most people buy?
No, there are more of.
Well, that doesn't make it popular, does it?
Yeah, of course it does.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah, there's loads of them. By the way, we should cut down.
Which is the tree that grows most in the world? Is that?
No,
question,
we
isn't it?
should cut down a load more trees and build cities, Because it's no good having a planet covered in trees if people aren't living there.
Well, don't you know about the Amazon being the Earth's lungs?
No, they're not. That's a load of nonsense.
Is it?
It's an absolute load of nonsense.
Maybe they could start with Stockbroker Belt, Surrey.
No, there's
And
so...
start building all over the Epsom Downs.
Can I just tell you, there's so much of the Amazon that when they cut a bit of it down and move on, within a few years, the bit they've cut down has grown again.
Thank you very much indeed.
yeah.
That was the Two Mics podcast.
Yes, it certainly was. Don't forget, it's out every Tuesday and every Friday morning on iTunes.
And you can follow us at the Two Mics.
So keep listening for more of MG's loose morals. Believe me, this boy hasn't got a moral fibre in his body.
And more of his bizarre buffoonery.
What?